This Swedish visionary isn't just disrupting an industry, he's redefining it.
It has been incredibly difficult from every single aspect that you could ever imagine.
Electric motorcycles aren't the future is now. Anton Wass set out to do the impossible. Build an electric motocross bike that doesn't just compete with gas-powered machines, but outperform them.
I think we're faster more or less everywhere, but we're slower in the whoops. And there you see the difference quite well.
With the Stark VARG, he's pushing the limits of technology, proving that raw power, precision engineering, and sustainability can exist in the same machine. He's not following trends, he's creating them. And in the process, he's forcing an entire industry to rethink what's possible. Anton Wass, welcome to Gypsy Tales. The podcast is brought to you by the Cardo Systems Pack Talk Edge, the king of rider-to-rider communication. I've been using the Cardo Pack Talk Edge since it was introduced in 2022. First on a ride through Vietnam, and then on adventure to the tip of Australia. And now I've just received the second generation of the Pack Talk with a host of upgrades that make this a must-use product for any kind of riding. With updated Bluetooth 5.2, new 40mm JBL speakers, magnetic mounting, and the updated DMC mode that gives you the ultimate connection for larger groups of riders without the need to reconnect a rider every time you go out of range. For me, the Pack Talk Edge really is a must-have accessory for your bike. I use this thing trail riding, on adventure rides, and if you combine it with the Pack Talk Edge phones, you can completely transform your coaching sessions, your training sessions, or you can be like Joey Savacci and his mechanic at WSX, who use these bad boys to communicate through practice and qualifying. For more information on the Cardo Pack Talk Edge, follow the link in the description below.
I met a gypsy.
Should I take this on?
Yeah, if you would like to.
Which side cable?
It says it on the thing. There's a
Right side.
yeah. There you go. Perfect. And then just pull this up. Yeah, we can have one of these a bit later on. Magic Mind.
What happens?
It's like, it's just a nootropic kind of.
So it makes me smarter?
It definitely makes me smarter. I don't know about you. You're already quite a bit smarter than me. So
Could you get a few more?
there is a couple more over there. I'll normally wait until like halfway through.
Okay. Yeah.
Then I'll.
I might need one now and one later.
Hey, that option's there. Do you want to pull this up? Just so, yeah. Perfect.
Sure.
Give us
Testing.
Yeah, sounds good. Anton Wass is in the studio, my Viking brother.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
Or you look
likewise.
like a Viking, man. Come on.
You've trimmed up a little bit. You were a bit unruly like myself.
Yeah, I was trying to be a bit rougher, but here I am, slightly more polished again.
Well, you're corporate, big corporate guy running a big
Exactly.
business. It's just me.
It was a little bit, I got too close to the homeless look, so I got back a couple of steps.
I'm debating. I'm like, do I get a haircut? And then Anna's like, well, you're going to have a haircut like every 2 weeks. And I'm like, all right, that's why I don't do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So-
and now I just never cut the hair anymore. It's easier.
Yeah, you've been running that for a while.
For sure.
So, third time on the pod.
Yes, third time's a charm.
I know. I think they've all been. Well, the second one wasn't a charm. Second one didn't work out the best. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that have listened to now all three. How different is life for you than the very first time we spoke? Because you listened to that the other day, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I listened to both before because I wanted to try to remember what did I say and talk about so I don't repeat myself too much. And a lot has happened. It's so crazy. And the first one was pretty soon after the launch. And
Was it before or after the launch?
it was after.
Okay.
Yeah, but we hadn't delivered any bikes yet.
Yeah.
I think you hadn't even ridden the bike yet.
No. It wasn't until that would have been. When would that have been? Like 22?
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, 22. Yeah. I think you mentioned that Josh Hill had called you and
Yes.
let's say, sold you the bike.
It was pretty cool because we've obviously become quite good friends in the 3 years since then.
Yeah.
But I remember Hill calling me and telling me that there was an electric bike that was really, really good. And I'm like, oh, is it like the Alta? And he's like, it's not like the Alta. It's a lot better than that.
Yeah.
And then you guys contacted me. It was you and Ben. I think I even signed an NDA a bit to talk to you guys like before it. And then you flew to our Europe studio. And then it was, I think, May the following year, I flew over and rode the bike.
Yeah. And you've been over a few times now.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So just crazy the journey that you guys have been on, you know. And I just, knowing you now as well, like, I think just talking to you that first time gave me an idea that the company was going to work. But
I'm glad to hear so.
but you never know, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
sure.
it's easy for someone to kind of like talk the talk. But yeah, knowing you for the last few years, like it's just not a surprise at all that you guys are where you are.
And likewise, it's been very nice to see your journey as well. I mean, you were successful older then, of course, but I think you've been on a good roll since then too.
Oh, it's cool. It's cool to be around good people that are doing stuff.
Yeah.
What's different though now? Like even with you personally, you know, like before in that position, you just launched the company, had never delivered a bike. That naturally brings this not expectation, but it naturally brings a level of like, they'll never be able to do it and this and that. And you had to kind of like stay stoic and guide the ship to the point where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough journey. It's been 3 years, but I'm 10 years older. I have gray hairs. And, but it's been an amazing adventure. You know, it's been so much fun. And I think we have achieved more or less what we set out to do. And but it's still super early. And I think we are, you know, at 0.1% of where we're going. And but we are in a position now that is, you know, we made it. And that's very nice, of course.
How hard was it to make it?
I mean, 100%. Like, I can't imagine it being harder. I think if it was 1% harder, we would not have made it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it has been incredibly difficult from every single aspect that you could ever imagine. You know, like because there's something that there are so many things that are continuously trying to not make you succeed, and if that's the government, or if it is competitors, or some suppliers, or natural disasters, or whatever it is. And, there has been so many times up until now where, we were, this close to just not being here today. Like hours, like minutes from not being here today, several times. And that's just so ridiculous. But I think now we're in a stable position, and it's been such a roller coaster, like really hitting the deepest depth of the ocean hard, and thinking that, shit, but, keep on swimming, and then you're on the top of Mount Everest, 5 minutes later. So yeah, that's an amazing adventure, but yeah, it's demanding.
Yeah, and I obviously, like on a personal level, there's probably like stuff I can't say, but that is like a personal thing between us. But I mean, I've even seen some things like where I'm like, dude, really? Like just your own personal sacrifice that you had to make it work. And I think that on the outside, and sometimes I think that with this, right? Like all I do is I just post episode after episode after episode after episode, and no one sees anything in between. No one has any idea what your bank balance is in between. But if the show looks good and it keeps getting better, then people just assume that you're doing fine, and it's getting, and I think that, I even had that same thought with you. I'm like, oh, here's this super successful guy, sold out of a business, started this. But it's like, even for you personally, like it's been a massive, massive commitment on your end.
Yeah, and I think it has to be, you can't do this 50 or 70%, then like don't even try. But no, it's fun. And yeah, thanks for, being part of this journey.
No, it is super cool. So what's what has been some of like the hardest challenges for you guys?
Of course, starting production has been a serious, that has been the hardest thing to do, because it's more like a dragged out struggle, where, you face, at some late stages, you realize, oh shit, we have to update this, because you test for hundreds of hours or thousands of hours, and then suddenly you find something that, oh shit, this we have to make it a change. And That can be really, really hard. I think we managed that in a good way, but that has been super difficult. But then when you start production, the most difficult thing of all is, as a new company, you have never produced something before. You have no flow, no supply chain flow where components are coming in. So you have to make thousands of components be delivered according to the same delivery plan from hundreds of suppliers. And if one of them is not delivering on time, if you're missing a swing arm shaft, you can't build a bike. You know, and if you can't build a bike and you have millions of goods flowing in every week, you run out of cash very fast.
And where do you put all the things? Because they're supposed to go together and out the door. So
yeah, and everything is custom made. Like one thing is you buy some stuff off the shelf and put it together. Like these are things that are already in production, so it's fine. But almost all of our components are custom made, so they started production for the first time. And normally, when let's say you cast an aluminium component and you make a steel mold, you invest hundreds of thousands in that specific just for one mold. And normally you have a few revisions. So you do the mold, you do some castings, you have some defects, you update the mold, and but how many revisions do you need on each mold? So like all of it has to time, and that is super, super hard. That was probably the hardest. But now that things are running, it's easier. It's like once the train starts moving, it's more harder to stop it actually.
Yeah, once a thing gets its natural momentum, it's like an object in motion wants to stay in motion.
Yeah, exactly. So that has been really, really hard. But then, of course, other things like some ridiculous things like government licenses and stuff like that you're depending on. And the bureaucracy, it is interesting. It's almost like sometimes it feels like the government is trying to stop you from making tax revenue.
yeah.
You're doing your best to make more money for them, and they're doing the best to stop you from that. But it's been all right. We managed to get through it, and now it's a next huge challenge that we're through now. But it has been difficult also to get everything to deliver a road legal vehicle with the Varg EX that is now just starting deliveries in a couple of weeks.
So how different is the Varg EX to the normal, like the first Varg?
I mean, it looks the same. There are quite a few differences. I mean, the frame is updated. It has more flex, better suited for enduro riding. Of course, it comes with an 18-inch rear wheel, which you can choose for the Varg MX as well. The electronics of the bike are more or less completely new to host the lights and a few other safety measures that aren't needed when you don't have lights. So more or less electronics are updated, completely new wiring harness. That is the first one that is actually like these cables here, over molded. They look nice. If you look at wiring harness on a motorcycle, it looks like a piece of shit. Like, it's horrible always, even the best bikes. I don't know why. So we decided let's make a wiring harness that is properly made, because it's one part is of course the design, but also the typical wiring harnesses cause so many issues. It's one of perhaps the most common cause of failure on motorcycles is that you have some corrosion or water in some connector, and it takes you weeks to find it because it's impossible to locate. So instead, if you overmold everything, like there's nowhere water or dirt can get in. This is more of a, let's say, complete solution. It's more difficult to develop and produce, but once you have it, you have a better component. So, I mean, that was a big thing, and I'm really happy we did it. There's a new phone that is better integrated into the bike so that it works more, let's say, you never have to touch it if you don't want to. Like that is just, like the electronics work better together. It has a built-in larger speaker so that you could make the bike sound something if you want. Of course, the new lights. We have the new silicone indicators that we developed, which we find pretty fun. And some new plastics, of course, bodywork. And what else is new?
Can you pull it up for us, Griff, on the screen? I haven't seen one yet.
Oh, really?
No.
You have to. We have to go ride.
No, I need to.
Yeah, for sure.
I got to get on one. Go to that bad boy. Because I mean, it does at first glance. It looks like
it's very similar for sure. But there are, I think, 120 new components.
Wow.
Yeah. So like you don't, when you look at it like this, you don't think so.
No, not at all.
Yeah, but it's a lot. That's, I don't know. That is not the right. That is not the. I don't know who photoshopped that picture, but for instance, that has the wrong chain guide That's from our website. That cannot be correct.
Go to the official website. And do you think that a lot of these components will eventually make their way back onto the MX bike?
Yeah, I mean, there will be an updated MX. I think it's quite far away.
Yeah.
But that will of course come at some point as well. So, for instance, stuff like the chain guide is updated. It has much more vertical stiffness, so that will probably also be updated then for the MX.
And it has like a completely new.
Map
Obviously,
switch,
you need
yeah.
the new map switch
Yeah,
for
and
it as well.
Yeah, what's cool, we routed now the cable inside the handlebar. So just like some small details like that, you don't need
Yeah.
even if a cable is done nicer, you still prefer to not see it.
Yeah.
And you can't get stuck in branches, rip it off and stuff like that. That's really common as well. New handguards, yeah. Yeah, it has been a pretty big project anyway.
That's bigger than I thought it was, to be completely honest.
Yeah, which makes sense. I agree. Like, come on, just put some lights on it.
Just chuck some indicators. It's already a battery. Like, how hard can it be?
Exactly. Yeah, but it's also like, how well do you want to do it? So, we could have just bought some aftermarket lights, put on it, and it would be, that could have worked. But we want to make a really good product. So then it takes a bit more time.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I always tell people as well when they ride one for the first time or, have that first experience. I was like, hey, this is the first iPhone. Like, just remember how shit the first iPhone was. Now, like, this is the shittest this bike is ever going to be, which is quite a scary thought for the future and just how good it will be.
Yeah, because it's already so good. I'm a bit biased.
No, I agree. But yeah, like just the room then, like the bike has to get better.
No, but it's completely true. I mean, if you think 10 years from now, they're going to be uncomparable. The development projects we're working on now, some really, really long term. I mean, our ambition is not to be, the best electric motorcycle manufacturer in the world. We want to be the best manufacturer of any electric drive unit in the world. Our ambition when we develop our next generation motors is that we have the highest torque density in the world, comparing all vehicles, and we want to be the best in everything. That's more inspiring, of course.
Yeah, well, it's something that as a company that it's a lot more fun to work on a project that has a goal that is that big.
Yeah, and I think that's like a self-fulfilling thing. If your goal is that big, then you inspire the best people. So it actually makes it easier to achieve that goal. So I think that we have such ridiculous ambitions has helped us to hire people that also have that. And, these are the guys that can make it happen. So, there's a lot of interesting things to come for sure.
What excites you the most, do you think? Like biggest picture possible.
That's building flying cars. Come on, that it must be the coolest thing.
That's still the goal.
I mean, think about if you could replace cars today. Like over 40% of all built surface is roads today. It's insane.
It is insane, and
that's all paid with the tax money, by the way. So you could reduce cost for society like incredible amounts. But also the fact, like especially here in California, like there's so much traffic. You could reduce the average drive with 90%, and you create a better experience. You fly at 300, 500 meters altitude, should be an amazing view up there. No bumps in the road. Well, maybe some air bumps, but but I mean that's more like maybe in the future. It's not certain that we will do that. But I think short term, something that really, really excites me is the innovations projects that we work with. I think something that we talked about it before, but we want to bring 3D printed titanium into mass production. That is really something that I'm sure will happen. Actually, it has happened. We are today producing foot pegs in our factory with titanium 3D printing for mass production. So,
and I've used them. I can vouch for them.
Exactly. Yeah, but the foot pegs is like a simple thing, and now we get powder in the door and we get foot pegs out with the bike on the other, which is pretty cool if you think about like a short, efficient value chain. But the next step is to produce big components. Think about like more or less everything that is steel. A lot of things that are aluminum can be titanium, and a huge reduction in weight. Like you can make components much less than half the weight, which is that can change the game, right?
Yeah.
So the challenge is, how do you make that efficient? You know, you can do it and the bike costs $1 million. Few people can afford it. So how do you make it so that people can afford it? It's still going to be premium, but if you can do that and produce thousands or at least hundreds per year at a decent efficiency, then you can really. I think that's gonna, for the premium automotive market, not just motorcycles, but that is the future. I think we see it. Like, we will probably see it in supercars more and more. You see it in Formula One, of course, but that I believe will happen, and I think we will do a lot of stuff already this year.
Yeah. So what's the process of 3D printing titanium? Like, how big is the printer? Like, what's the materials like that are used?
So the printer that we have in our factory is like 4 meters tall. It's huge. It's like a building.
Jeez.
Yeah. So we can print something. I don't remember the exact build size, but it's like millimeters, 650, 650, 650, and then you can print anything in that.
So a 4 meter machine.
Yeah, exactly.
That is crazy.
Yeah, but there are bigger ones as well. So you can you can print the whole frame like in one piece. That is pretty cool, and it's just gonna get better and better. But there are different technologies. You can say that in general there are 2 main technologies. One is powder bed fusion, which is you put a layer of like titanium dust where the particles are between, let's say, a 20th of a millimeter in diameter to a 10th of a millimeter in diameter. So it's like a powder, and you put a layer that is roughly 0.1 millimeters. It can be a little bit less, a little bit more. And then you have a bunch of lasers that melt it, like, and then you put on one more layer, you melt it again.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, for instance, like, I don't know if you've seen, but we made a titanium axe and a titanium sword.
Yeah, I did see.
Yeah, it's not just because we like weapons, but it's
You
also
are a Viking.
exactly. But it's also to learn about the production method. So if you take, can we put up the Stark Klinga just to show it? Stark Klinga, Klinga. Yes.
I missed out on mine.
Oh,
I was trying to get 45.
I will get you one. I will make sure that we get you one.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, of course.
We're building a wall up here, and I'll just put it up on the wall.
Let's see if we can get a picture of it.
Just go like fast forward to where there's like a picture, like a full blown.
I think if you go back,
dude, they look so badass.
It's pretty cool.
Go back, Drew.
I think a little bit earlier. There we. There should be a picture of like the whole thing standing. Maybe in the end of the video. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
So
that is wild that that's titanium printed.
Yeah, in one piece. So this is about 65 centimeters. And
so that's using the full capacity of the machine, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So that's about 6,000 layers. So imagine that, like you have to have it takes some time, of course. You can do several at the same time, you just.
Yeah, because of the width.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's, so it kind of gives you an idea about, you can do any single shape with this, more or less, and that creates so much opportunity. Look at a steel frame today. Like, it's so limited. It's made of tubes that have the same wall thickness all the way through. You bend them, you weld them to some other tube, maybe a pressed plate. Like, it's the same technology that we have had for 100 years.
Yeah.
So it's time to do something better.
That's crazy that it's going to be like that. Because I remember seeing that. Well, when I first saw the foot peg, I was like, dude, that is pretty crazy that's where we are. And it's polished and it like doesn't look like it's 3D printed. It's like quite a mind-bending thing to look at in the first place, know?
Yeah, I agree.
And then to think at scale and every component that you could make with that.
Yeah.
Like, that is a complete revolution in manufacturing.
For sure. Like it will, I think eventually 3D printing will replace everything that is casted and forged today. Like, it's just a matter of time. And it's going to make things lighter and stronger and better.
So then how do you get the finish on that? Is that then it's hand polished and hand sharpened? And
yeah, so this one is hand polished. The axe was actually a CNC machine because this, like, a blade has like a super complex shape, so it's really hard to try to do, and also like it bends if you try to put a CNC machine. So it's easier to do it by hand, but the axe was actually a CNC machine. So you can do both.
That's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
Where do you think that 3D print, just stepping outside of the moto space, but like where do you think that 3D printing can go when it comes to foods? Do you think that that's like a possibility to actually like print in proteins and enzymes?
I mean, it exists today, right? But it feels so weird. Would you like to eat something that's 3D printed?
I mean, ideally, no.
Right. I feel the same, you know.
Silicon titties feel good though. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, we've got our head around that.
that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, for food, I'm not sure. Like the organic way of printing, like growing, is pretty efficient. It's gonna be hard to do that better with a machine. But I guess like lab grown stuff we're gonna eat, I think.
Yeah, so you think it's probably going to be more grown than printed?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, but the cool thing with printing though, when you can start printing different materials together. So I mean, now most that exists today, but not to like it's not really working, you know. But you know, then you can print electronics, complex electronics together. You know, maybe in the end you can print the whole, like not the whole, but parts of a motor and stuff like that, because you need insulation layers and stuff. So I think, you know, it's just 3D printing in general is gonna change everything, because it's like the rate of improvements now is insane. How much
3D printing?
Yeah. Every year it's just like a new world. So it's pretty cool.
That is wild to think.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has to change. Like to the making of metals and welding and casting and just the whole process that takes is pretty stupid. Really, it's very old.
It's so damn stupid. And it's so much waste. Because you waste so much material, not just time for sure, but so much material as well. Because you know, you cut it and you stamp it, and here the waste is, I mean, it can be almost zero, because you reuse the powder that's not melted. You lose between 0 and 5%, but it will just get better and better.
So what is 3D printed on a Varg that a customer buys now?
Only the foot pegs today.
Only the foot pegs.
But we're going to see some really cool stuff this year.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's the limitations speed-wise? Like, are you guys just going to have to get a bunch more of these machines, and how quickly do you think that the machines, like, is that a limiting factor, right? Like a production company, that's the world that I'd be familiar with, right? Like you get a camera, you can use it for 5-6 years, then you have to replace the fleet, and now it's a matter of how much money can you make in those 5 to 6 years before you have to replace everything. What's the difference in that?
I think, if you think about the future, like 10 years from now, I would envision that a factory, like we will have factories with hundreds of printers, like huge ones. So we will have powder coming in. I don't think we'll produce powder ourselves. Powder coming in the door, hundreds of printers that are printing, not just titanium, aluminium, and other materials as well. More or less all mechanical components on the bike. Then we assemble them and then we ship out the bike. So it's like super efficient setup too. You get in the raw material and the bike comes out, with 200 meters away. So I think that's the way. Today we can print 150 foot pegs in 24 hours with our machine, more or less.
Not too bad.
It's not bad at all, but it's gonna get, maybe in a year we do double, and then.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff that has to be exciting.
I mean, these sort of things, that it's so exciting you can't fall asleep.
Yeah. And so are there other versions of this in the business where like things are just improving on the tech side?
Yeah.
And that's always, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I've always been excited about Stark is that, first of all, knowing the team, but knowing that you guys are just, it's not limited. Yeah, like the only thing you're really limited to is that you make electric vehicles. That would be like the constraints in a sense, But other than that, you guys are like pretty nimble to do and change what you want.
Yeah, we're open to everything. And I mean, I think we will see huge innovations in the powertrain. Like our powertrain team, we have the best guys in the world. So we're going to see some massive, massive improvements here. And I mean, not just talking about the Varg, of course, but other bikes too. There are other bikes that we are going to be releasing here in the next few years. And then, of course, two categories that are lacking innovation today, I think, is suspension and brakes. There's a lot of things that are going to happen there.
Do tell.
Lighter and better. That's simple. I have the easiest job in the world, you know, like come into every meeting, just say, can we do this at half the weight at a lower cost? And then the real challenge is to figure it. I mean, try to be inspiring, you know, but then the hard work is for the guys to figure out how the fuck do we do that? Because, you know, people are pretty good at doing things already.
Yeah.
How do we do it twice as good? But most of the things are like still today can be at least twice as good. You know, like there are huge opportunities.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I think so.
So suspension moving to more intelligent
For sure.
suspension, because there would be components where you have the actual physical system itself.
Yeah.
But then you also have physical systems that are incorporated with intelligent systems.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think like a really smart active suspension is for sure the future. And it's, I mean, it's really like a carburetor today. So you make it perfect for this day, this altitude, this temperature, this humidity, and it runs so good. And then tomorrow it's a different weather and it doesn't run good anymore. You know, and that's where we are with suspension today. So I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon, but for sure in the next few years, huge things are gonna happen here. And I think it's a huge benefit. Like if you have a factory team, yeah, you have a guy full time that is constantly setting up your suspension, but that's not the case for 99.99% of all the riders.
Well, and even they can't get it right.
Right? Exactly.
Like, look at Jetta A1 hated his motorcycle.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and eventually, you know, everyone will get it right. You don't need to, like, you're just gonna tell the bike what you want.
How hard is that?
I mean, now it's super hard for sure. Like it's a massive challenge because this is a combination of mechanical challenges with electronic and you know, both hardware and software. Because if you want to make it really, really smart, you need AI to do it, and it has to be safe. You know, because imagine if it fucks up, that can be really bad too. So yeah, I think you're gonna see it in steps for sure. Maybe in the beginning, like, you on a button can just change the settings.
Yeah, or sag.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
And then like the ultimate goal is that you will speak to the bike and it will suggest things and you say yes, no. And you know.
The thing I love about this too, right? So 3 years ago you were sitting here saying like a bunch of crazy shit that has come true. So now for anyone listening that is like, fuck, he's saying a bunch of crazy shit. Well, that's how this works.
Yeah.
Like, that's how the future works. Like, we're right now. I remember the first time we spoke, I was just like dying to ride the motorcycle.
Yeah.
And then the first time I rode the motorcycle, I was just dying to own the motorcycle. And now I own the motorcycle.
Yeah.
So there is a progression where like the future does actually happen. You know, and there's like somebody responsible for making that future happen, you know?
Yeah.
There's like such a big disconnect from people in like the present moment when you talk about, you know, these things, but like they all happen.
Yeah. So how would you describe the bike today? Like what's the good with the bike, and for us working at Stark, what should we improve?
I think that the best thing about the bike is ease of use. So like if you talk about just the experience of riding the motorcycle, it's by far the easiest motorcycle to ride. Then I think that that is because there are so few variables compared to the competition, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to change gears, you don't have to put fuel, there's no maintenance required. There's literally nothing. You don't even have to use your feet.
Yeah.
Like that's another huge thing. Like when we did the race together last year, dude, to do that on a gas bike, think about in 8 hours.
No.
How many? Yeah, no.
I wouldn't have come.
But think about how many times we would have changed gears.
Yeah.
How many times would my feet have had to move go up and down
through those sand rollers?
Oh
my God! Please no.
Yeah, it was a struggle on the world's easiest bike. But I think that's like first and foremost, that would be like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But then I think that there's just so many fringe benefits that come off that. Like my wife, can ride that bike.
Yeah.
She's not a motorcycle rider at all.
Yeah.
She never even knew what a motorcycle was until we met.
Yeah.
I can literally give her that bike. I can slide the power, and I can give her a very safe and controllable motorcycle that, with another slide, is an extremely unsafe but controllable motorcycle.
Yeah.
So I think that there's that. There's no maintenance. I haven't literally touched mine.
Yeah.
I'd put new grips on it. That's it. And you just don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that's
so I think that there's that. The drawbacks would be weight. That's it.
Yeah.
I would just say, and that's tech. Again, that's owning the first iPhone.
Yeah.
The first iPhone was not good. It was so good compared to every other phone that was on the market.
Sure.
But in comparison to the iPhone 16 Pro Max, it's a piece of shit.
Of course.
So I just think that that's the same. We're just in the same boat. And that's, again, what a tech product is. You know, like there's a mechanical world, and then there's the world of tech. And Tesla, like if you compare to Tesla's a tech company that manufactures, like they build tech into a product in the same way that Apple is a tech company.
Of course.
But they build it into, so it's hardware and software.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were the first ones to do it in the car industry. Like all the others, they just bought systems from Siemens and Bosch, and it's like, yeah, now it works, but it's not properly integrated. Like before Stark, I had Mercedes AMG G63, amazing car, I loved it, but horrible for the environment. Had to sell it, but like a really, really, really nice car. And with that car, I had to read the manual to figure out how to play music. And that is just so fucking unacceptable. It's so bad.
Yeah.
You know, are you kidding me? But that's how more or less all other cars are. And that's a change the game, of course, by integrating everything. And I think we are working in a very similar approach where, you know, we're just trying to control everything to create a better experience.
That was the thing. And even now, like if I pick up an Android, like even when I have to use my Stark phone, like it's not intuitive to me at all how it works.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I ever used the iPhone, it's just literally a 3-year-old can use iOS.
Yeah,
it's
I think
just
that's
so intuitive.
Yeah, that's the difference.
For sure.
Yeah, and you know, like the swiping things, you know, it's just so weird. Like you think it's almost and it happens. So it's going to be interesting to follow it's hard to imagine how it will become better. I mean, now we speak to the phones. That's next step, of course, but it's gonna
Have you used the Apple Vision Pro?
Haven't tried it, no.
I haven't tried it either.
But we use VR a lot in R&D to you know, to see, because especially when you design iterate, like it's so fast and it's so good. Like when you take on a VR headset and you're in the design room, like you literally think the bike is there. Like you walk around it, you sit down.
So you guys are using VR so you have like a virtual bike, and you're all looking at
you can look down under it, you can like sit on it, you walk through it, of course, like, you know, but you can imagine sitting on it, you know, and this feels, this probably this angle, maybe my knee is hitting, you know, this part here, and then someone can just change it super quickly. And so like the whole auto industry today are using clay, which is 100,000-year-old technology.
Literally. Literally.
And I think there are a lot of people that like clay, but I think it has so many limitations. It's so slow and a bit complex. And with VR, like VR today is so good, you forget it's fake. Like when you're there, you think it's real. And when you take them off, it's like you wake up in a new world. It's so, next time you come by, I'll show you. Like it's so it's so good now. It's insane. And we had one person who had a VR headset on, an MXGP rider, looking at a bike. This was a while ago, actually, so now it's even better. And you have like buttons that are like your remotes that are like your hands, and he pressed something so that the bike fell over, and it falls over like naturally.
And
he panicked, tried to grab it because it's so real. So it's pretty cool. And I think here is something that that's just an indication. So that's VR, but what was really interesting is then AR. So, and I think actually we spoke about this before, but, maybe AR is the future for motorcycling. Like, would you like to ride with a pair of goggles that puts an artificial layer on top of your experience? So, maybe it's guiding you around the track, which line choices, when to go faster, when to go slower, avoid casing that jump. I was at Paris 2 days ago. My whole body is hurting because I cased every single jump because I was not going fast enough. Maybe that could have helped me,
Dude, for sure. Like, you have a AR inlay in your Oakley goggles.
Yeah.
And it's literally giving you telemetry,
Yeah.
knowing the layout of the track, knowing the size of the jump.
Yeah.
And you could literally be being told, like, too slow, or, you need to X mile per hour to make that jump. Like, that is crazy. Or braking and...
I was at the Oakley factory yesterday. It's just in maybe 30 minutes from here.
Yeah, no,
that's pretty cool. They're actually manufactured here. So they have, I think it's 1,600 people, huge factory. I think it's 1 million square feet. So huge place. And we saw the manufacturing, went through, some of the developments. And I asked them, when is it coming? And they didn't confirm, but I mean, that has to be the future, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have an amazing place. It's so cool.
Yeah. And it's in Irvine, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What are we looking at here? Yeah. So you can see that this is in like Formula One.
Oh, really? So they're using it already?
In the video game.
Oh, okay.
So you can turn exactly what you said on in the actual video game.
Oh, cool.
And it gives you, it's basically like, must be on this one, but it gives you zones, like it gives you the green line to follow.
Yeah.
And then it'll give you like an orange, then it'll go to like a red, then it'll open back up to green again. Yeah. But yeah, it's basically what you're talking about, but it's not.
Yeah, but I think it just makes sense. And of course, I mean, video games, of course, has to come first. And I think, if it works there, it's just a sign that that's what we're going to experience in the real world eventually. And the real world will become something in between.
I think, do you ever watch Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD on YouTube?
No.
He's got a really good tech YouTube channel.
Okay, cool.
But he was trying the, I think it's the Meta glasses and just the gestures. And I think he said the same thing on the Apple Vision Pro, but the gestures that you can make with your eyes, like we interface with our hands now. And it's like, there's like a finite speed that you can achieve with that. But yeah, he said with the eyes and the tracking and the notifications and the way that you can actually like use the OS just with your eyes is going to be, he said it's like wildly intuitive how it works.
Okay. It feels like your eyes are always wandering around, but maybe it will work.
Well, I think that, he said it's like crazy good how it actually works.
We did a video with Meta. They used our bike, I think, with those glasses.
Really?
Yeah. They did some cool stunts.
What did they do? Like,
they just like rode around. It sounded like a city area, maybe some wheelies, some jumps, and sliding around. That's cool.
That's one thing that you guys have done maybe better than any other company in the space is be integrated with different people. I think just because of the nature of the product, there's so much more that can be done with a Varg than can be done with any other gas production motorcycle.
Yeah, and I think it's probably, I think the team is, of course, doing an amazing job. But of course, the bike is such an enabler for both the movie industry, but also music, so yeah, we're seeing a lot of people use it, which is super nice, and we appreciate it, of course.
What's been some of the highlights? Like when you personally see it from like your own standpoint, you go, "Fuck, that's pretty cool."
So
Kanye West music video.
Yeah, I think wasn't it something with him?
yeah, it was in like a Kanye West video.
Yeah, no, but I never I don't really follow the, let's say, I never even remember the name of all the famous people, so I'm not so good at that. But yeah, Kanye West is pretty cool, of course. And there was maybe Selena Gomez or something, maybe.
Really?
I'm not the right person.
Maybe, yeah. That's also quite cool about you, though. Is that it's like probably a lot of people when their company's being featured in all these places that probably would find that cool, and
Yeah.
your dick gets hard over 3D printing instead of that.
I will remember, the exact, details of how the 3D printing, but I don't know even how Selena Gomez looks like, unfortunately.
That's so good. So VR's already been used, which is pretty cool. And now that you said that, I can really see how that would be incredibly useful in the design phase. And so have you have a room in the factory where you just put in goggles? And is the room like spaced?
No, so you can create a virtual space. So we have a design room where we do it, and then there are other bikes in there, but you create virtual walls. So like when you're walking there, it will like you see, okay, I should not go further than here. So it kind of works well like that. And actually, already now you can sketch in VR. It's not working well right now, but imagine with your hands how you can change the shape of objects.
Yeah.
Because now you're still going back to mouse dragging something on a computer. Like it's not that advanced. It depends on how you view it. But the future is that you shape the objects in VR. Like now,
you stay in the space.
Yeah. Because now you go back, you change something, then you go back to VR. But eventually, you're just like an artist. You're gonna sculpt it there, and that's gonna be even cooler. I think. Just a bunch of guys in the same VR room.
Well, I think this podcast will eventually be that.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense.
Like this, even this now, like this light that's above us and the light, it makes it feel different in a way.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's an overproduced space. So it doesn't just feel like we're in the real world at a coffee shop. Like this does in essence become its own space. And I can't see a world where I'm not doing this, like you said, on a farm with a big shed with a track. Yeah. And then it doesn't matter what I look like, doesn't matter what I'm wearing. Like I could be doing it completely naked, and you put on the VR headset. The space is created virtually. We're rendered in 3D.
I think if you did it naked, that could actually bring even more views. Could
be
a good idea, actually.
Maybe. But that will be a thing that happens, and it just gets 3D rendered. You record and capture the rendering. You could change all the camera. Surely that's how this works, and then it will revolutionize the industry in the way that it would revolutionize all industries.
Of course. Yeah.
Like you would not have to come to LA to do this podcast.
It's nice to hug you and touch you.
It is nice to catch up, but that will just not be the case in the future.
Yeah. Well, you're going to make the video calls even better for sure. And probably meeting in person will become less common, but maybe it will then become a bit, it'll
become more meaningful.
Right?
For sure.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And I think, obviously you probably would lose an element of that. But even when we did the first one, it was completely virtual.
Yeah. Yeah. That worked well already done. So yeah, we're just going to improve even more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, because especially when you're done in different places, everyone both takes on their VR headset and then you are in the same room. Like that works today.
Should try and do it.
Yeah.
Should try and figure it out.
Yeah.
It would be quite a big project in terms of just like computing power though to do the renders and
probably
Yeah. I think Zuckerberg and Lex Friedman did it. They did like a metaverse podcast or whatever.
Okay.
It still looks a little bit obviously it looks a little bit funky, but it's going to get to that point with everything.
For sure.
You wonder like how much I think the real world is just going to be valued more than the virtual world, and like so much. But if you think about now how much time we live in a virtual world, like this exists. If people are watching or listening to this, they are in essence like in a virtual world, So we're just going to get like deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah. And maybe that's the future, people listening, they will sit in on the, let's say here, they would sit here next to us. And maybe if the AI becomes good enough, they can take part of the conversation.
That would be, I've always wondered, like, imagine you render the room, but it's not a room like this. It becomes like a little auditorium or a stadium. And there's actually is real people. I feel like it would change the product.
Yeah.
like the actual
But
conversation.
have you done live podcasts?
In some small ways,
Yeah.
but not in the way.
The problem is, I guess most people like wouldn't intervene. Like maybe everyone doesn't like jump in and say ask questions and stuff. But
Yeah, I think exactly. You wouldn't want to have like a huge amount of people, but I mean, imagine you could. It's like this time you come into the chat, you get a seat in the auditorium. It's like there's empty seats. There's actually no one sit. Like it could be like a crazy thing, you know.
yeah, maybe you could allow people, like you have this guest coming up, and then you say, okay, I'm gonna let 10 people in. That you can just choose which 10 people or whatever, and then they can actually be part of the conversation, or you can maybe decide when they are allowed to ask some question and whatever. It could be cool.
That would be cool, eh?
Yeah.
Should be sick to should try and work on that. But anyway, back to stuff. So what else has got you excited at the moment in terms of what you guys are working on?
No, I think there are many things. We're doing a lot of innovation in powertrain. We're doing something that I find really nice and kind of maybe I'm a bit proud of, is that we're doing some developments with NASA, that they actually reached out to us and
Really?
wanted to share some learnings and stuff. And actually the guy that is in charge of battery development at NASA has a Varg, and is a rider.
Wow.
Yeah, so pretty cool. He actually came to Barcelona last summer, and we went out. Well, not summer; it was just a few months ago, and we went out riding for some enduro. And I mean,
Did you just ride behind your place?
yeah, it was like 30 minutes away, closer to Villafranca.
Yeah.
So less rocks, more of like, let's say, nicer trails. And yeah, it's a super cool guy, and I mean, of course, they have resources that we cannot even compare with. So we can share a lot of experience and learnings, and I think both can bring value to the table, and we can help them with some stuff, and they can help us for some future innovation projects. So that's really nice, and we have a few things like that ongoing, which is nice. Of course, I think now racing is expanding more and more, which is pretty cool. Now today we are racing in arena cross here in US, and we're racing in arena cross also in UK. Last year we won the championship, which was nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we're just going to expand. Unfortunately, we're not going to be at A2 tomorrow.
Well, you will be, but the bike won't be.
Not the bike, yeah. Yes, not yet.
So before we get into the racing, like what's the development of the powertrain? Like, because I don't want a faster Stark VARG.
Yeah.
So I feel like you've already maybe hit the ceiling in terms of the power, not the power that you could produce, but maybe the power that we should be made available.
Yeah, I think more than 8 is just like you don't need it. Not for off-road at least.
Yeah. So what's the developments then would become in efficiency, torque, and weight of the powertrain and battery combination?
I think both torque and power is more or less like I think we have enough now. So I think the innovation is how do you make it significantly lighter and more efficient? Like that's the challenge.
Do you have a number in mind that is the sweet spot? Because is there a point of diminishing returns when it comes to weight? Like you could be on this quest to make everything the lightest and the fastest possible, but there's obviously a point where that curve starts to turn negative.
That's a great question. If you look at an electric bicycle that's like 25 kilos, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you had 80 horsepower on that thing, it would be unrideable.
Yeah.
Would you? Of course, it doesn't have as good suspension. Wheels are much thinner and everything. You would need a lot more stiffness. But where's the sweet spot? Is the sweet spot 50 kilos or 70 or 100? Hard to say. I mean, we have to try to know. But I do think reducing weight from where we are now is going to be a benefit. Really depends on the riding. Like I mostly do hard enduro, so you constantly end up in situations where
lifting the thing,
right?
Yeah,
because you're not good enough. And
yeah.
So there, reducing weight, it will be a huge benefit for sure. I think if you're a really fast motocross rider, I don't know how much. Like the bike feels so light on a motocross track. I don't know if it's going to make a big difference or not. We have to try. I think what we can see, we do make some of our athletes' bikes a little bit lighter, and of course that has some benefits. I think, for instance, now we're competing in the Super Enduro World Championship, and what's interesting there is that it's an open class for everyone except Stark. So we have a minimum weight and a maximum power, and everyone else has free weight, free power. So that's a little bit of a limitation. So actually, we had to make our Super Enduro race bikes significantly heavier
than stock.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Right, I agree. And a bit strange too, because
they're already heavier than a normal production motorcycle.
I mean, if you compare to 450 with gas, it's more or less an enduro. It's more or less the same. But if we compare to the race bikes there, because they make the race bikes lighter too, right? And we have to make our race bikes heavier. So that's there we see it's clearly making us a lot slower, that we have to put on a penalty weight, which is very frustrating. I think Eddie is doing really well. His last race he finished 5th, which I think is very impressive considering it's a world championship, and he's running with a penalty weight and a maximum power that is equivalent to 250.
What is the maximum that they let him race on?
48 horsepower.
Yeah, okay. So I would choose to ride with 2 horsepower more than that, basically.
Yeah, but this is a world championship.
Yeah.
So like if you look at Billy Bolt, he has way more power than that. And also, when you're spinning the motor at full speed, releasing the clutch, you have over 100 horsepower on that thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's clearly a
disadvantage.
Clear disadvantage and frustrating, but I hope that will change, of course. So to go back to the question, hard to say really. Maybe between 80 and 100 kilos would be the sweet spot. Lighter than 80, maybe it becomes just weird. I don't know. We have to see.
Yeah, because I think that, there definitely would be a point where it's too light. There's a point where it's too heavy. There's a point where it's too light. I just wonder like what the sweet spot is. But for you guys, I think that you would probably want to make the battery, like technologically, you would push to just keep orders of magnitude better if you can, and then figure out a way to bring the balance that you need to that.
Yeah, I think, when you ride a bike today, it feels lighter than any other bike. It is.
By far.
Right. So I mean, like, the priority will be more range. And then, but I still think we're going to achieve both.
How much is battery tech improving?
You say that it's improving in about 7% over a year.
Okay.
That's more or less where we are now.
And then is that Stark's rate of improvement or the technology as a whole?
Technology as a whole. I mean, we are part of developing some battery cells, so we are doing battery cell development as well, but we are not producing cells ourselves. So we are part of it. We're not leading it. So I think we are in a position where we can have technology that's not available to anyone else, but it's not ours. Yeah.
And limited by what their development is, essentially.
Sure.
Yeah. So could you expect to actually implement a 7% increase in range?
I mean, now the Varg EX has 10% more battery capacity, but about 20% more range. So that's already quite a big difference. So of course that's a big step. I think it will take some time before we take the next step, but we're of course continuously working on it. And future battery packs that we're developing for other bikes, the ambition is to have great cooling, so you can have really, really fast charging on the street, but higher energy density than what you find in Formula 1 or Formula E. But those batteries live one race. We want to have a battery that will live 20, 30 years. So that's really these are some huge innovation projects, of course. That's super interesting.
So you've got the actual hardware of the cells and the battery itself, but then there's all these other factors that commit or the impact range, essentially.
Yeah.
And so cooling, just software, motor. So like all of those things have an effect.
Yeah, of course. And also electronics is a huge part of it as well. You know, how can you make it more efficient, smaller, lighter, reduce the risk of failure? You know, you want to have something that's completely bulletproof. Like whatever you do to it, like it will never fail. Like, you know, that's how it should be. You know, you drop it in, you have a lake at home, you drop it at your lake, you pick it up next week, you go to the track, go ride.
That's so wild. Eh?
That's how it should be, right?
Don't have any room in the shed. Oh, well, I'll just put it in the lake with a little bell on it.
Please don't do it. That's not our recommendation. If you do that, we will not give you any warranty. But, you know, like, I think you have to make, well, you don't have to, but I think it's just do a product that's absolutely bulletproof. That's how it should be.
No, I get it.
Like, you shouldn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, like your watch, like you never have to take it off. If you go riding MX, maybe it's a little bit heavy, but you know, if you want to go swim or whatever you want to do, you don't need to think about it.
It's actually a pretty good point, eh? Like, there is products out there, like you in theory could never take this watch off.
Yeah.
You wind it, you set it, you put it on your wrist.
Yeah.
And if you move every single day and don't die or go into a coma, that watch will stay working. And it will be within, I mean, I've never timed it, but it would be within a couple of seconds of accuracy a day, right?
Yeah, probably better than that.
Huh, yeah. I've never really thought about it.
I don't know, actually. Yeah,
but in that terms of like, there are products that actually, or like you can aspire to that product, but there are already products that do that.
Yeah, because it's like you say, like you haven't had to do any maintenance to the bike, the Varg you have, just the grips, and that's great. But I mean, we have customers that abuse them to a level that we can't even imagine. And you know, of course, if you drive straight into a wall, like, okay, it's gonna break. But you know, we want to make sure that we can go through everything that's, you know, even close to reasonable.
Did I show you me hitting the wall on the Varg?
No, you did that.
Oh, I can't remember who I sent it to. What's that? Oh yeah, it's kind of embarrassing, to be honest. Who did I send it to? I think Ronan sent it to me.
You drove into a wall.
I crashed into a wall. Yes. So when you talk about that, I have actually done that. It was the last.
Did something break?
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Let me send it. This is fucking embarrassing.
Well, we all do those things. If you would have seen me on Paris the other day, you would have laughed.
Yeah. The mini. All right. Sorry. I'll send it to this. Where is my. There we go. Yeah, this is unfortunate.
Oh, you sent it to me now?
Nah, it should be.
Okay.
It should be here. I didn't realize how fast I was just fucking around doing a wheelie.
No helmet.
Watch. I can't believe I didn't send that to you, dude.
Oh my God.
Play it again.
And how are you? Did you?
I was honestly fine. I was wearing my watch too, and the first thing I did,
That was a nice video, though.
I just didn't realize how fast I was
Why
going.
didn't you post that? That's an amazing video.
Dude, the fucking factory burned down the next day.
Oh, fuck, shit. I'm so sorry about that.
So that was the last, and I thought it was the fucking bike. So I crashed the bike the day before.
Yeah.
We were going to go riding.
Yeah.
And I literally had a dream that the fucking warehouse burned down. And then Ronan calls me at 6 a.m.
No.
And he's like, hey, bro, like the warehouse has burned down.
Fuck.
And I was like, the fucking bike. I crashed the bike. I did something to the bike. And it's, get there, the whole building's up in flames and the fucking Varg sitting, the fire brigade had pulled the Varg out and the Varg was sitting there. And I was like, was like, it was a crazy experience.
Was the bike damaged or?
Not at all.
Oh, wow.
No. So,
Cool.
but we lost the whole top level. So there was like a mezzanine and the fire started in my office.
Shit.
Do
you know what it was that started it?
It was probably a battery.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So we just had a bunch of it was either like a battery or like a electronic desk. Like there was 2 electronic desks. There was hard drives that were plugged in and running. Like it was something electrical.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was I ran it into the wall.
The video is amazing. You should post that. Come on, it looks
Well,
amazing.
it's posted now. But that was the last. That was literally the last thing we ever like filmed at the studio. And then I went home and was like, I can't fucking believe I hurt my forearm, but that's it. But dude, I was wearing my watch, crashed on the concrete, and I got up, and that's the first thing I thought about because we just finished the podcast.
But you know, it could also look good with some scratches on it.
Not that good. I think those would have been a bit extreme. But yeah, I got up and I was like, you just ruined your watch, and completely fine. But it was the guy that did the podcast. He's like a finance guy. This is actually, it speaks to the product, right?
Yeah.
So he has like a finance YouTube. We lost the podcast. It was gone in the fire. But because the Varg was just sitting, I'd only just picked it up and it was just sitting there. And he's like, dude, what's this? Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is like the Tesla of motorcycles. And he's like, oh, could I ride it? And I was like, you ever ridden a bike before? And he said, yeah, I've ridden a bike. And I was like, then yes, 100%. So I turned it on, tuned the power down for him.
Yeah. Cool.
Blew his mind. Couldn't believe it.
Nice. Did he buy one?
Not yet. He just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube though, so maybe he'll give himself a little gift.
Sounds good.
But yeah, so I have crashed it into a wall.
Yeah, good job.
And it was fine.
Yeah, perfect.
I bent the lever.
Great, thank you.
That was it.
Yeah.
So, and that was your bike too. So sorry about that.
That's fine. That's fine.
So
they're made for crashing.
Have you thought about doing mountain bikes with mountain bike? I know you're a big e-bike guy.
Yeah. I mean, I do ride mountain bikes every week almost.
Are you still riding a bunch?
Actually, now that we have the EX, I used to go out with the mountain bike in the morning because I didn't have a light on my bike. But now that I have the EX and I have a light, I go out sometimes before work.
Really?
It's so nice, like completely dark outside and you go out in the trails, but you see everything and it's so cool. So you do like, 30, 40 minutes of riding and, that's a great
Do you just ride out of the house?
Yeah.
That's the dream.
It's an amazing way to start the day. Yeah. So, but, in terms of e-mountain bikes, it's quite developed. I think for me, the biggest downside of e-mountain bikes today is the gears. Like, it is the biggest quality issue of every mountain bike. Like you continuously hit the derailleur and you bend some shit, and then the gears start jumping or there's some annoying sound. You have to readjust it. I always snap the chain. Like I don't know, I snap the chain.
I've snapped the chain on a ride with you.
Right? I don't know why, but I snap 5 chains per year. Yeah, I buy the best one and they snap all the time. And I think it's because I change gear while on power, which is you're not supposed to do that, but come on, I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge opportunity. So, and I know there are some things today with like internal gearboxes and stuff, but they're clunky, heavy. I don't think like there's somewhere that I see some opportunity to, like, we will only do a product if we think it can be a lot better than what exists today. In general, e-mountain bikes are so damn good. Like they're so developed. For me, there are 2 things. One is the gearbox gear solution is not good. That has to change. And the second thing is that from a value chain perspective, they're super inefficient. Like they're too expensive. It's ridiculous that, my S-Works Turbo Levo costs more than the Varg. Like that's impossible. I should get 3 of those bikes for the Varg. And I think the reason is that they have so many aftermarket brands that are part of OEM. So they have so many layers of value chain that drive up the cost. I mean, the actual manufacturing cost of my S-Works Turbo Levo, I would guess is, $1,500. Like if you would really take it down, but the price is $15,000, and that's not reasonable. So I think, someone has to do some innovation in value chain and yes. But we're not working on it. We have one thing that we might patent for e-mountain bikes, but we have not developed something. It's just like a concept.
You could, talking about the printing, like you could print one of those things.
For sure. Yeah, actually some people do.
Huh.
I've seen some printed titanium frames, but they do them in pieces now and weld them together. So, yeah. But it could, because the thing is the carbon frames, it's a little bit scary because they snap.
Yeah.
And, of course you could make a carbon frame for a dirt bike too, but I would never make a frame that snaps on you. Like it needs to bend. like, our frame.
Yeah, there has to be a certain level of flex.
Yeah. We have never had anyone, as far as I know, that has bent our frame, unless someone drove straight into a car. Okay, that's not a good thing. But
And I've seen videos of Tortelli trying to bend a frame.
he has done 50 G-forces on the bike. You can't it sounds like it's a joke, but that's like, he is a tank. Like Sebastian Tortelli is not built like a human. He's mentally so damn strong, but also physically. Like, he's a farmer boy, and it shows. I think he plowed those fields himself. He just left the tractor in the shed and he just did it. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what he did when he grew up. 7 years old.
Yeah.
But I mean, so he has intentionally, because we have to because we, of course we do a lot of, we simulate everything and we test things so we have our own, it's called a torture bench in Spanish, but it's like a bench where you put load on components to see where do they break. So both from a fatigue perspective, like if you put 500 hours on Sebastian Tortelli destroying your bike, it cannot be destroyed. And that's probably like 1 million hours for you and me.
Yeah.
But we also, to pair your simulations and your, let's say, shop tests to reality, you need to know, but what is the
limit?
Worst case in reality? So what Seb, and I don't know why he agreed to do it, but, it's like, okay, can you do the worst bottom out that we could ever do? It's like, yeah, sure. What? No, so what he does then, he goes out, there's a huge tabletop at Golf MX, and he overshot it, three times the tabletop or something. That's ridiculous. And I don't know, but it probably, it looks like it's 10 meters in the air. I don't know, but probably something like that. And straight to flat. And I think there's someone there watching it started crying. Like, that's real, because he's going to die. It's so scary. So that's 50 G-forces. And that he did the same jump on one of the Japanese bikes, and it blew up the front wheel, of course. But the Stark was fine, so that's nice. So, in testing, we have done up to 50 G-forces, which is just, it's mind-blowing. 50 times the weight.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I was like, Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
I think that the whole testing process is cool. I mean, every manufacturer they do testing. But it was definitely a very cool experience when I came to Barcelona, and I just spent a week of get up in the morning, have some breakfast, drive the Tesla to the track, ride the Varg all day until my hands were completely cut and fucked, go home, and then try and do it the next day. And It was just like, come in, fresh bike was on charge every time that you came in. Yeah. Sebastian would ride his ruts in perfectly in the morning. No one else could go on the track until he had his ruts right. But it was very cool to see the process of actual testing. It's like the bike was there. There was different versions of frames. There was different, there was different things that were, on being tested essentially. But yeah, it was basically just get out and put as many hours as you could on the bike. So it was a very cool process.
Yeah, I'm glad you took part of it, I think. And that's such an important part. We have guys actually now.
How many dudes are doing it now?
I think every day there's 3 or 4. And some are there every day, and some come in, they do a few days here and there. But the guy that has done the most hours on the Varg, in the whole world, is Jordi Sala. I think you met him.
Yeah.
So he's an amazing guy, super nice, very talented rider. And now that we stopped with Taddy, he actually he did a race in the Super Enduro World Championship. And because when you're a few days away from the race and you don't have another Super Enduro rider, you can't find one pro to just jump in, because you also have to adapt a bit to the Varg if you're used to riding a 2-stroke, for instance. You need someone that is used to the bike, and he jumped in and did the World Championship, which is super cool. I mean, of course, he didn't finish last, which is crazy. Imagine that
is crazy.
Imagine you have never done a Super Enduro race in your whole life, and the first one you do is the World Championship with Billy Bolt. That's crazy. And he didn't finish last. That just says a lot about him, the mentality behind it. And he has done more hours on the Vargs than anyone, probably thousands. And what they do is they ride 3 hours every single day like 3 hours of motocross every day, 5 hours a week, and I mean, then on the weekend they still ride. You know, like you have to be pretty damn tough to do that.
Yeah.
So they do 30 minutes, rest 30 minutes, 30 minutes, rest 30 minutes. So I think it's just so damn impressive. And he's the guy that has, you know, like been doing it since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah, he
amazing
was
guy.
there when I was there.
Yeah,
It was me, him, and Seb riding that day.
yeah, he's an amazing guy.
I can't remember what I did, but I think I did like 3 30-minute sessions.
Yeah, yeah, but that's good.
That was it. That's all I could. I was rinsed.
Yeah, but that's impressive too.
Went home, slept like a baby, cried all night and shit myself, and got up and did it the
Yeah,
next.
but imagine double every day for a couple of years.
Every single day. Yeah. No.
Yeah, you
and
become strong.
yeah, the boys were all just having lunch and chilling and cruising, and going out, doing it again. It was very cool to just see the process.
Yeah,
Of
you know,
how it was done.
some days, like, it's one thing is you go out and you're smooth, but I mean, some days they're asked to intentionally try to destroy something. You know, so for instance, the tubes, we had issues with our tubes in the beginning, and now I think we're on the 4th iteration of improving them. And so, I mean, when we have done tests on the tubes, like, the ask is please go out and try to hit every single rock that you can.
Yeah.
Land short, jump too far, like intentionally try to destroy the tubes and do that for 3 hours every single day. I mean, that's a tough job.
I did leave there being like, if I ever just decide to quit the podcast, probably going to move to Barcelona and just be a Varg test rider.
Perfect. You're hired.
Yeah, it's my back. It's in the back pocket.
Nice.
So, have you got? Speaking of gearboxes and e-bikes, have you got any plans or any ideas around doing something that has a gearbox, or is there just no need
For mountain bikes?
for the Varg?
Oh, no. I mean, like, gears should go away. Like, I think that's one of the biggest benefits, that you don't need gears anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, for sure.
And there's just no world where you see that there's like an application for it?
No.
Not unless it would probably be like, not even like towing. I mean, Tesla, same thing. That it's not like they do it.
No, I mean, really, there is no reason for it. Like, the Taycan has 2 gears, but it's really just a bad idea. Like, it's actually, the Taycan is less efficient than a Tesla.
Yeah.
So it adds complexity and you get less efficiency. You know, so, okay.
So you think that's just like a marketing thing for those
No,
guys?
I think, you know, it's a German mindset, you know, that they like to not change too much, and they become best in the world in developing gearboxes. And then you kind of want to keep that, I guess. I think can we use this skill that we have, you know, and that's reasonable, right? But where you should just, you know, let go of your babies.
Yeah.
You know, no pride.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. What about a clutch?
Oof, the clutch topic. Before we delivered the first Varg MX bikes, there was a lot of questions also for motocross. You know, like, no, I can't ride a motocross without a clutch. And I think now it's kind of more or less settled that no one wants it. I just saw a short clip with Eli Tomac when he was here, and he, like, I love that guy. He's the best. In the last race, like in San Diego race, amazing to see him. Wow, so damn impressive. But I thought about, like, it would be cool if you would try the bike, of course. But I saw his comment about, like, he even hates the hydraulic clutch. So I mean, there's something to, like, that you're used to something and you don't want to change it. But I think, you know, if you don't even are open to let go of a cable clutch, like going to the step to hydraulic, maybe losing the clutch completely is like, that's a big step. And I can respect that, because you have perfected riding with a clutch your whole life, and that's what a lot of people have done. But I think for motocross, like, it's not like there is no space for a clutch, and I think everyone that has ridden the bike agrees to that. And I think for enduro, like, no, absolutely you don't need it. Hard enduro, no, you don't need it. I don't know if you saw the race with that Eddie did in South America, in Chile. So it was an amazing.
Is there footage of it online?
Yeah. It's on
How
the
would we
Stark
find
channel.
that?
Yeah, there's like highlights. We can bring it up.
Yeah. Let's watch it.
If you go to the Stark channel.
I have a thing where I wish I could ride my dirt bike as good as I could ride a Varg. And a big part of that is the clutch.
Yeah. So yeah, this was there you see that. He did a wall ride. Can we go see
back,
that? Can we see that again? Look at this wall ride he does now.
Right.
Like, what the fuck happened? Like, how can Eddie do that? So I think this race was that was Billy Bolt. So that's a good example of a very difficult hard enduro race. And so here Eddie,
this is cheating.
Yeah. No, actually he didn't win the start. So he was a little bit slow
what
there.
are you doing, Eddie?
And he takes a guy out first corner too. Not intentionally though.
Dude, this is insane.
Yeah, it was such a cool race, and Eddie just killed it. So he lapped Billy Bolt around the track, and he was leading for like almost the entire race. But then, like the last lap, he ran out the rear tire. Like if we go to the end, it's like a slick. Like he had 0 knobs left.
Yeah.
So he.
Was he on one of the gummy tires?
Yeah. And what we should have done is just change tire throughout the race.
Yeah.
Which he had plenty of time to do it because he had a huge lead.
So he was winning the race.
But he didn't. He finished third in the end because he lost so much. Like riding the last lap on a slick was simply not possible. So I think like this is a good example of like hard enduro. No, you don't need a clutch. I mean, look at this here.
Yeah.
But I think.
Oi.
And then you have super enduro, which
hell.
you know. Oh wow. Yeah. And there's a lot of amateurs there as well, of course. That is.
Were there any privateers?
Yeah, a lot of those guys are privateers there. So I don't know how many riders there were, but
any on a Varg?
No.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, but Chile, I mean, I think we just started deliveries there now.
Okay.
So there are not so many. But I mean, I saw that. I mean, we're starting to see some more volume there now, so I hope we get some more traction there.
Yeah.
And here you see these hills that people just get stuck. But I mean, Ed is an amazing rider, of course.
Yes. But I mean, it's the case.
Look here.
Oh, wow.
That's just complete chaos. Hear me?
What a fucking crazy deal.
Yeah, and you know, they have ropes there and stuff to get up.
But yeah, so you just don't need he does not need a clutch.
I mean, look at this, right? People don't get up with a gas bike, but he just climbs up. So I think that's pretty clear.
With one hand.
Right? Yeah, one hand. I mean, that's Eddie, but yeah, he's an amazing rider.
Oh, the Carlson boys, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see his progression.
Dude, for sure.
Yeah, I think of course there are like many of the riders that are kind of showing people things that you never seen before on a bike, and I think Patrick Evans is of course one of those, but also Eddie. And but then if we look at super enduro, which is something that maybe there are 30 or 50 people in the world that really ride it, because it's a bit of a, let's say, odd sport.
Yeah.
Most tracks you don't need a clutch, but I think the track we had last weekend in Romania, it has a lot of like big steps.
Yeah.
And given also that we have a penalty weight on the bike, like the snappy power that, like the bike has enough power to just wheelie whenever you want.
Yeah.
But that race, I think he suffered a bit because he didn't have a clutch. And maybe if he had less weight, that would be fine. But now, that we also have to run a heavy bike, I think there it could have been an advantage.
Yeah.
But I think for anyone considering buying the bike, and if you're thinking like, shit, I miss my clutch. Like the reason you have a clutch on your 302 stroke or whatever it is because the bike is so limited. Because you need the clutch to get into the right RPM, to build up momentum, to gain power. Like you don't need to think about that
And to
anymore.
not stall the bike.
And to not stall the bike. Like, yeah, but you can just stop. You don't need to think about that anymore. And so I think for 99.99, no, there's like absolutely no. And then for maybe like one or two of the super enduro races in the World Championship, maybe there it would be an advantage. I don't know if let's see what we do. I mean, of course, we want to be able to win every race, right? So should maybe we develop something? We have to see, really. But I think to answer the question, like for most people, like no, absolutely not. If you think you need a clutch, I understand, because people have learned to ride that way. But try the bike, like ride it for 1 hour, and then you will see.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it really upsets me that I can ride my Stark and look a certain way, and then ride my gas-powered bike and look like absolute dog shit. You're going to hit the...
I mean, I'm going to try this now. Magic Mind.
I'll do it with you.
Sharper Mind. lower stress. I need 12 of these, please.
We have 12 here. No, these are honestly good. Me and first time I had one was Justin Hill was on the pod.
Oh, okay.
And
Nice.
we both, he says like 20 minutes, he's like, you feel that thing? I can feel that thing. So yeah, Magic Mind. If anyone wants one, there's a link in the description. But it's basically just a nootropic, like it's a supplement essentially, but they've just put it in like this kind of shot format.
Cool.
But yeah, I'll be interested. You tell me in 20 minutes if you can feel anything.
Let's see. I'm normally quite sensitive to these things because I never take any of these.
Very straight, very straight-laced fella.
Sure.
But yeah, I can't ride my normal bike the way that I can ride a Stark. Every single photo that you see of me on a Stark, I look like a really good rider.
Yeah.
Every single photo.
Yeah, but you are a good rider.
Not as there's a big difference on a gas bike, and I think what I've decided or what I've kind of reduced that to is that there's no clutch. The clutch is a crutch.
Yeah, sure.
That's me being completely honest.
Yeah.
For Eli Tomac, obviously not. But for me, it's a thing that I just lean on to instead of correcting my body position.
Yeah.
Because on a Varg, the only way that you can keep the front wheel down is by having the correct body position. And the Varg forces me to ride in the correct way.
Yeah.
My head is always so much further over the bar pad and in the quote unquote correct position.
Yeah.
And you see Eli in those positions and he's using the clutch in a different way, right? But like for me, the clutch on a normal dirt bike stops me from getting into the right position.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of the trainers normally, they make people ride without it, just to learn how you should ride, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
The one thing though that made me feel like I should have something or some kind of thing that could stop the engine, I fully cartwheeled down the hill at Glen Helen on my 450, like properly cartwheeled.
Yeah.
Going down the hill, hand blew off, the throttle went in my armpit, wide open.
Oh no.
And I was like swapping and I got my hand back but I was too late, dude. I was fucking third gear wedged at the bottom of the hill. I pulled the clutch in and I just let the bike, I just looped the bike out and fucking thing cartwheeled. And the only thing that went through my head is I was like, if I was on my Varg, I don't know how I would have saved that situation. Granted, that's worst case scenario. Has never happened to me before. Hopefully will never happen to me again. But that was the only time where I was like, I wonder what the option is here on the Varg,
And what the clutch did for you is that it stopped the whiskey throttle, or?
Yeah.
So
just killed the engine that. And then I was able to then release the clutch, let the bike go, and the bike I fucking wrote the thing off, dude. It was the craziest shit. It was one of those crashes where I was like, I might die.
Sounds scary.
It actually did scare me.
But I think there is, the beauty with an electric powertrain is that it does what you ask it to do. So I think the future is that, on the EX now you have a brake light switch, which is just like a mechanical switch. It's like on and off button, like on the wall for the lights. And you also have those that are hydraulic so that you can see the exact pressure that you put in. And I think using that so that you can decide, you can set on the bike, how much do I want to have a mechanical rear brake, and how much would I like to add assistance of electrical brake? And maybe it is to just make it easier so that you super easy with one finger can use the rear brake. You never need to really use power. Maybe that's what you want. You also create regen so you get a bit more range. But that could also allow you, because if you're at full throttle, let's say you have 60 horsepower, it's, even if you pull the brake full, it's probably not going to stop.
No.
But if you say that you integrate e-brake in your hydraulic brake to a certain extent, because I think it's important to maintain the same feeling. I mean, I've tried some very early e-brakes without mechanical brake, and I'm not sure if just an e-brake on a dirt bike is going to be the way. We have to see. Like, it's too early to say. Maybe there's a point where we can just get rid of the hydraulic brake, But at least combine them, so to give you more power. So if you would hit the brake and you have activated a certain amount of e-brake, it will kill the power for you. So that, I think, that will be the solution.
Yeah, and I knew there would be a solution.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not until you get into that scenario where I'm just like, I wonder like what I would have been able to do then, Because when you're out, like I was not in control of the motorcycle.
Yeah.
So, and I was very lucky. I was lucky that I had like the instincts that I even did have to be like, okay, you just have to get off the motorcycle,
But why did you let go of the bike once you got in control? Like, you couldn't ride it out?
Well, I wasn't in control fully.
Yeah.
So like I got back to enough control to where I could like bail off the back of the bike. But I was already at the bottom of the braking area.
Yeah.
Still full power. And then there was like the berm, you go over the berm and then you're onto the next bit of the track.
Yeah.
And I just knew that if I jumped off the bike, it'd cartwheel in the bumps.
Yeah.
So I just like made the decision to just be like, done. I just like jumped off, twisted the handlebars.
Yeah.
And the thing just went and just went flying in the air. That to me at the time, in the split second that you have to make the call, seemed like the safest way out of that.
Yeah. And you were fine?
Oh, I broke my wrist, and ripped I ripped in some shit in my knee, but pretty well in terms of like worst case scenario.
Yeah, just to be wrist, it's
completely out of control on a full view. Like it was gnarly,
that's pretty scary.
bro.
Shit.
Yeah, it was fucking scary. But yeah, I think so. When you were talking about like brake performances, I never even really thought of that. Like you could actually have a sensor in the brake that basically went off hydraulic pressure.
Yeah.
And the more hydraulic pressure that you would be putting into the brake, then the more it would actually brake at the motor.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Do you think a chain will always be the way?
Yeah,
because is that a limiting factor then in, let's just use the brake for an example, right?
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons that, perhaps a full e-brake, because it will act completely differently. So now that you hit your hydraulic brake, the bike squats down. But if you brake with a motor, it does the opposite because you brake with the front sprocket.
Yeah.
So
it'll pitch forward, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's too early, really. We haven't done the testing to say. I think for a street bike, a full e-brake rear, like for sure, that should be the way. Unfortunately, it's not allowed. The regulations require that you have mechanical brake.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because, it can make the bikes lighter, lower cost, less maintenance and so on. And on the street, it's not like you don't need that perfect performance, let's say, if it would be a difference at all. If it would be worse, maybe it could be better. But on a dirt bike, we have to test and see. But I think for combination, no brainer. Absolutely, the combination will be amazing. Only brake, time will tell.
I wonder though, you're right, because if you brake at the front sprocket, then you're going to pitch the motorcycle forward.
Yeah.
But if you're combining that with electronic suspension, then you're able to, there would be a ratio that would then make the motorcycle squat and act.
But the thing is that, a lot of people use engine braking on a 4-stroke as their rear brake too, because they like the way it, so that would be the same. If you go into corner and you bump down a couple of gears and you like that way of the motor bringing down, that would be a similar feeling how it would be.
What if you ride motocross, what engine braking do you run on the Varg?
I started with 80. Regen, yeah. I started with 80, now I'm at 20.
Yeah, I'm at I'm like 25, 30.
Yeah, I really like it.
So much better.
Yeah, it's so much more stable when you come into corners because it just rolls in.
Yeah.
It's less nervous, kind of.
What do you run, Ritter?
I run
40, okay.
And he's way better, so I should.
Well, he rides he's probably rides a Stark, maybe the most of anyone in California, really. You'd be definitely up there.
But he looks so good on the bike, man.
I know.
I was good. He was a good inspiration. I did a few laps at Paris. We did the night riding thing, and I felt so bad. I hadn't been on a motocross track for a while, and then I stopped next to the tracks, next to a couple of jumps, just to see the guys. And when I watched Ryan and Justin and also the race guys do it, and it looked so damn good. It was a good inspiration. Like, come on, man, I have to just step it up.
Yeah.
So it was great. Yeah, and then I managed to do a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, I think that I noticed that at Glen Helen, I went out and I was running like probably 60 or 70 regen.
Okay.
And it was just it would bind up the suspension.
Yeah.
And it made me want to change the rebound on the suspension so much.
Yeah.
And then the next time I went out, I put it to 35, I think. And it was a suspension adjustment, essentially.
Yeah. So what I find with lower, like 20, is that to balance out the bike in the air, then I have to hit the rear brake. But I don't mind it. Like, that's because you balance it, So
yeah. Oh, so yeah, you notice that you actually need a bit more rear brake. I feel like I never hit the rear brake on the Varg, and I have to be so careful not to hit the gas because, like the first time I rode the Stark at Glen Helen, they've got like a little floaty kind of finish line.
Yeah.
I'm just so used to just every time in the air, just cracking the throttle, both my feet come off. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm on a different thing here.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about the air, yeah. Right.
Yeah. So,
but how do you use the rear brake and the rest around the track? Do you, do you use it a lot or?
Yeah, I'd say so. It doesn't have the same power of a foot brake.
Yeah.
But at least for me.
Yeah.
Like, I think that you definitely give, like, the ability to lock the rear wheel is not the same. And I think that that's probably something that I noticed coming back and forward is like, I think of the rear brake on a traditional dirt bike, you're really using the rear brake and trying to lock it at times too, or you're like more chasing that feeling. But I think with the Varg, I'm more using the rear brake to just like kind of keep me settled in ruts and turns.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think once you find a sweet spot with the regen, but it's like a Tesla. I don't really use the rear the brakes on a Tesla.
Yeah, it's
a lot. Like I could probably drive from your house to the factory without really using the brakes.
Sure. Yeah. That's how it works. One pedal driving. Yeah. It's quite nice when you get used to it.
So much better.
Yeah.
But I think the Varg is quite similar. I think the front brake you're always going to use. Like
I used the handbrake quite a lot too. A bit like a clutch in corners and stuff too.
I think that like dragging just to keep the bike like settled in turns for sure.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, I'm similar in that way. Before we get into this episode of the podcast, we need to bring you a quick word from our sponsor, Motosport.com. I got a YZ450F out the back there that I got some upgrades to do. You know exactly where I'm going. I'm going to need some help with customer service, so I'm going to chat with a gearhead. This box showed up. It has a 2007 KTM master cylinder, a Yamaha caliper, also 2007, and a Turner braided brake lines. I feel like this is a very good upgrade for $600. Need the old hanger, so we're gonna put a bit of grease on that and get it back on, bolt her up. Caliper has been done. Now this can just get bolted on. Now, shout out to Kiefer, who I think stole this off Doug DeVark. That was easy. Nah, that was easy. All it needs now is to be bled and ridden. This is a pretty epic upgrade. You can get OEM parts to build this little Frankenstein brake kit, or basically anything else for any brand by going to motosport.com. To move on to the racing side of things.
Sure.
A lot of success. Won the Arena Cross first year. You've got a pretty cool team of guys over in Europe, moved to Arena Cross in the US, had some success, even like basically a Stark class at some of those events.
Yeah.
What's been the overall kind of perspective on racing since you guys started?
I mean, we are like step by step, I would say. We're entering more and more racing. We do Supercross in France, we do the Arena Cross in UK, now Arena Cross here in the US. So we have a specific, let's say, electric class, but then there's also a combined class, which is really fun. So we race with gas bikes here in the US as well. And I think, we're going to continue developing. By the way, did you see Trevor Stewart on Glen Helen talking about that track, the race he did?
No, not yet.
He was, I think.
Oh, the World Vets. Yeah, he won.
Yeah, he did this. I
Yeah.
mean, he was so damn fast. It was like
Is
the
there any
first
videos
race he
of
did
that?
on that bike. Yeah.
He's such a crazy good rider, dude.
Yeah, and like interesting guy too. You had him here, yeah.
Yeah.
I listened to that. That was a very interesting episode.
Yeah, no, he's a really cool dude.
Yeah.
Wonder,
Um.
is there any footage of him riding? It was him versus Mosman, eh?
Yeah.
Wonder, yeah, maybe just turn the volume down and try and find it.
But in general, I mean, we're continuing to expand. I think now that we're in the World Championship is really a nice step with the Super Enduro, and we're just gonna continue to try to enter more and more to be a bigger part of the industry. I think, and I think we're showing that it makes sense. Like it's as long as we ride on similar horsepower, it's really fair. I don't think it's fair to put a penalty weight on us or say that we should have less power, but if we have the same power, then it's fair. The big question is, when we'll be allowed to enter AMA Supercross and the Nationals like that. That we would really, really like to do.
So where are you at with that? I'm assuming you're going to try and have some conversations tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think it's of course it's a big step, and the question is, when is the industry willing to let us in? But I mean, we are ready. We could race Supercross tomorrow if they let us. And let's see when it happens. I mean, I hope it happens next year, but I'm not sure. There's no indications of that, of course, but I don't see any reason why not. I mean, by now we have proven that, like, it's safe. It's safe for us to race with gas bikes. It works well in all the other, hundreds of races. We are competitive. We are as fast, faster, sometimes slower, like racing should be. And I think it's good for the industry. I mean, electric is here to grow this industry. Everything else is shrinking right now. And if we embrace electric, it could make this industry 10 times bigger. Like, that would be better for everyone. Much better for all the promoters of all the racers, the federations, and everyone that is involved. So I hope, and I think it feels like everyone is embracing it. Like, it's a little bit step by step. I mean, now on national level, we're allowed, I think, more or less every single country in the world except Germany and US. I mean, some races in US we're allowed, like Arena Cross, of course, which is an AMA sanctioned event. So that's a big step, of course, by AMA to allow us to do that. So that's quite amazing. And let's see. But we would love to be part of Supercross and the Nationals. And I think, I mean, it's going to happen eventually. Not that they have promised us that it will happen, but come on, it has to happen.
Yeah.
And we would really like to do it. I think it's going to make things even more interesting. Like, how will we do? We have guys like Eli Tomac that have perfected how to ride a gas bike. It's a little bit old school, doesn't even want to run a hydraulic clutch, which is so fun. And an absolute beast, and then here comes new technology with, some rider that has adapted to a bit different way of riding. And, let's see how we'll do. I don't think we're going to go out and win the first year, but I think we can go out and be top 10 the first year and, build from there step by step. And eventually, of course, we have to win it.
So what's the pushback?
Competitors.
Who's it come from?
The other OEMs.
Yeah. So you've got rid of KTM. So you've first of all, you've clipped them from the program. So now...
Exactly. You didn't know that was us?
Yeah, that was you, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, evil bastard. Listen to you laugh.
Exactly. Yeah, they had it coming. It's like if you act badly enough, eventually things happen. So, yeah.
Because I guess it's not just KTM, but other manufacturers are definitely like pushing back against.
I think the other OEMs have been more fair. Like, they're for sure pushing back and they don't want to allow us. And that, I can understand, because they have been in this industry for so long. If we come in and we win against them, that will make them look bad. So I can see why they don't want us to do that. I still think they should. You should embrace competition. Okay, if someone is better, okay, let's get my shit together and compete then, if that's what it takes. In terms of KTM, I think they have they have competed in ways that are maybe not fair. You know, like threatening their dealers not to work with us, threatening to sue us for things that are not true, stopping us from racing in ways that, you know, one thing is being against it. One thing is, like, I don't know what happened. First, like last year with Super Enduro, we were allowed to race, and then one day before the race, we are blocked. They changed the rules one day, and that has never ever happened before. And who made that happen? Like, I don't know that was KTM. Like, so I cannot say that, but someone made that happen. And that's it's a bit frightening, honestly. Like, who has a federation should be independent, right? Like, that's the whole point.
And they were fine with it completely. And then at the 11th hour, literally, the rules change.
Yeah, we even had
there's some kind of influence.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we even had an email. Like, we emailed them, hey, are we allowed to race? There's an email, yes, you are allowed. Like, there's no question. And then they changed the rules 24 hours. But now I have to say, like, FIM has allowed us to race, and I appreciate that. That's great. But, you know, they, you know, I don't know if you've seen the Gladiator, what the Emperor does before they go out and fight. Just a quick stab in the stomach to make sure that, he's a little bit wounded. And that's a bit what they did in the open class, putting a minimum weight and a maximum power on us. Yeah, okay, you can be there, but we're going to make sure you're not competitive. Okay.
Which isn't in the spirit of the rules.
No.
Or it's not in the spirit of competition.
I mean, not in an open class. Is it open or is it not open?
Well, by definition, it would not be open for you.
Right. No, but then, like, okay, put a minimum weight on everyone then. You know, put a maximum power everyone. That's fair. Yeah, but why would you have a minimum weight? Like, I can understand arguments for safety, but a heavier bike is just more dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you get the bike on top of you, someone rides the bike into you, like whatever, so that's a bit weird. But
so here you're still facing challenges to get into the professional racing.
Yeah.
Here. And so what's the pushback been, or like what's the, I guess, like technically where is it?
I mean, it's like, we have had conversations that I think are really good. Like, my impression of AMA and Feld and MX Sports is amazing. I think they're amazing at what they do. Super nice guys. All the conversations have been good, but then just taking the step to allow us to race, I think it's a big step, and I can respect it. Like, what has been built up it's a huge thing. Like, you don't want to gamble what you have created. Like, you need to think it through properly, and I think there's a lot of bad memory from when they allowed 4 strokes to race.
I didn't think about that until Davey said it on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, because that did change everything.
Yeah.
And it never went back.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, as great as 2 strokes are, pretty glad we don't still fucking race them.
Yeah, for sure.
I own a 2-stroke.
Yeah.
I don't ride it very often.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that.
So, yes, it changed, and it probably made racing more expensive and yada, yada, yada. But I would argue that it made it better.
But it's interesting, you know, we did a cost comparison. You know, what is the cost of ownership with a Stark versus a 4-stroke 450 or a 2-stroke 250? And you know which is the most expensive bike to own?
The 2-stroke.
Yeah. And this is just reading the owner's manual, like recommended service. So, like, no assumptions, like taking the owner's manual, when should we change this? Okay, what is the price? You know, so, like, just facts. There's no bike that is more expensive to own than the 2-stroke. So, like, that whole argument that the 4-strokes made it more expensive, like, no, it's just not true.
And is that taken into consideration the recommended retail price?
Yep.
So all the factors are that you buy the bike and you own it for a year or 2 years, and as per the owner's manual, the 2-stroke is the most expensive motorcycle.
Yes, yeah. I think, actually, if we go to Stark's website, we might have it there. We can check it out. If we go to the Varg EX product page, we can go down, scroll down a bit more.
Stop making bikes I need in my garage.
A bit more. Go down, please. Range, go down a bit more. Let's see. We're looking for one more graph like that. Here we go. Okay, shit. So we only have gas in general. Okay. So we have one internally with like several bikes.
Yeah.
And the two-stroke is, by far the most expensive because you have to change pistons and stuff quite often. And then the four-stroke is, of course, like much more expensive to own than the Varg. This is like over 100 hours of use. So the four-stroke is $6,300 in repairs, and the Stark is $600. So like, even if we are a little bit more expensive to buy, like it's the cheapest bike to own. Sorry, now this really became a commercial here. That was not really my point.
I'm just in the head, the comments of like, you're such a shill, you're a corporate shill. I'm used to it.
Sorry, but okay, here we are.
No, it's a fact. Like
it's a fact.
You've done the research.
Yeah, this is owner's manual and recommended retail price. So for two-stroke, the most expensive. Four-stroke, the second most expensive. Of course, like an electric bike, like of course it's cheaper because like there is not so much maintenance, So I think but the comments you see with two strokes, because there are so many comments, but where are those riders? Because if you go to the track, there are no one riding those two strokes, So if you love them so much, why aren't you riding it?
It's so true, dude. It's so true. And I mean, I have my YZ that I did my build of. That bike is fucking beautiful. I love that motorcycle. Yeah. I will probably never ride it again. The day that I rode it, I rode it one time. Loved it. The sound, the feeling. Not riding it again.
Yeah. But I think what the four strokes did though, that was bad for the industry, is the noise.
For sure.
Yeah. So two strokes noise doesn't travel as far. There's something with the four stroke, like that fucking sound travels miles.
Yeah, well that's just science.
Yeah.
Like the frequency that the sound is emitted at.
Yeah.
It just travels and travels, and those waves can travel through a lot more shit.
For sure. Yeah. So that was for sure bad. Like many tracks have been shut down because of four strokes. And if people would be riding two strokes, less tracks would have been shut down because noise is really the issue.
But then you've got the emission side, which I don't necessarily agree with. Like, I just don't think burning oil in two strokes at Glen Helen on the weekend is like a huge contributing factor, or at least a factor that can't be offset in other ways with like that's where I would love like AMA to step in. It's like, okay, you pay us the license, we'll offset the cost of, whatever emissions that you are emitting by riding a two-stroke or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, it's just noise has been the biggest issue.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, the emissions are like, it's toxic to breathe those fumes, especially a two-stroke, it's not good, but you don't do it so much. If you do that 1 hour a week, like that's not going to kill you,
No. And it's not going to kill the environment if
you
offset it in other ways.
No, absolutely. And it's such a small part, of course, like everything matters. Like if you look at, there are millions of dirt bike riders around the world that burn millions of, it has an impact. But if you compare that to everything else, like there are things that matter much more, of course. And
then even like, it's like almost a shitty argument to take, right? But it's like, let's regulate the fuck out of America.
Yeah.
China just does whatever it wants. So let's kill all of our productivity. Yeah. Let's kill our economic growth. Let's kill our innovation for our own sake and let China just do whatever the fuck they want. So it's like we're playing a very strange game. To me, the magic wand solution is we build something that just sucks a whole lot of carbon out of the air. It has to be like a technological solution
it's called
that
plants.
Fixes this problem, not a regulation problem.
But I mean, that's plants. I mean, and actually, I mean, China, there's a lot of things that China do bad, but I mean, no one is doing more for sustainability than China.
Really?
Like where's all the solar coming from? China, like 99%. All the batteries, China. Who is investing more in clean energy, so hydro and nuclear, than anyone else? China. Who has built the most forest over the last 50 years? China. So like they also built a lot of coal plants, more than anyone actually, but they have, but if you look at the total picture, they have built more green energy than anyone else. So, like they need more energy and they can't scale green energy faster than what they're doing. Like it's crazy how fast they're scaling it already.
Really?
But then of course, but I think the coal plants is, like of course they're gonna, like burning coal is fucking dirty. Like no one needs to burn coal.
Literally.
Come
It's
on.
just, yeah.
So that has to go away.
1,000-year-old technology. Again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the solution is not to penalize people and say like, no, you cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's just not the right world to live in. Like who wants that? That's not a nice, maybe a bit like Europe and California. Like you can no longer do things because there are so many regulations. Like it's almost impossible to even start a business in some places, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just bad for everything. And I think it's better to kind of make it easier to do good. Like, okay, here's the bad.
The incentives should be aligned towards doing the right thing.
Right? I think so. Yeah, it would be. And it's a bit like maybe motocross tracks are now starting to do that. Like we see more and more tracks that have, okay, these are the opening hours for a gas bike. And that's 5 hours on Tuesday, 5 hours on Sunday. Okay, so you have 10 hours per week when you can ride. Or you can ride electric 7 days a week whenever you want. So I think for me that's, and the limitations of hours for gas is not because someone wants to be mean. It's because there are houses in the area that like they are disturbed. Like even us as dirt bike riders, if we want to have dinner outside in the evening, we would also be disturbed if there's a loud 4-stroke. If you understand.
And it's a problem even for me to go to parlor. I'm gonna sound like the biggest fucking kook of all time here, but this is the reality. I just don't want to go there and listen to the fucking noise all day.
Yeah.
Like it is actually astronomical. Like if you park in the middle of the two tracks of parlor, good luck. Good luck having a conversation. Good luck doing anything for the time that you're there.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how gnarly that problem has gotten for noise. And it's like, we've just lost so many tracks. Insurance as well is one thing.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, you're trying to insure a thing that nobody wants there in the first place.
Exactly.
So it's like your insurance challenge will be complicated because this is a fucking complicated thing to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so I mean, I would like make it an opportunity, like sustainability has got such a bad word because of so much fucking bullshit. So much greenwashing and bullshit. Like that's not what it's about. It should be like all of us care about nature, especially us that are dirt bike riders, because we're out in nature.
We need nature to do the
right.
thing.
That's what we're out in nature enjoying it, So, but it needs to be positive, not this like negative punishment kind of.
Well, and then I think that it's the end user, or it's like it's the person with the least control over the environment that pays the maximum consequence of environmentalism.
Yeah.
Governments have the biggest impact on the environment.
For sure. I mean, look at California with these forest fires and these, hundreds, maybe thousands of homes that burned down in the last few weeks.
Thousands. Last time I heard it was like 10,000 properties.
Wow, shit. I mean, the emissions from that, like, it's just like, you can look at whatever you want. Like, this is 100 times worse. And what the government should have done is, number one, of course, have better fire protection, but also, if things are as dry as they are here, like you're just waiting for disaster to happen, you have to fix that. And you have to fix the problem with things being too dry. You need more water, and like, that's what the government should fix. And I don't know how you're going to do it, if you're going to get more rivers across, more water across, if you're going to have...
What about desalination?
Sure. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's what Dubai does.
Yeah.
Like, there's no water restrictions in Dubai.
Yeah.
That would be a place where you would think that they would have water restrictions.
Yeah.
Cloud seeding. Like, they do make it rain there.
Exactly.
But this is, I mean, we could go off on a huge tangent, but like there's so many conspiracies around all these things in this place, unfortunately. But it's like, imagine having a property on the Pacific Ocean and not having water
Yeah, so
extinguish a fire.
it's so ridiculous.
What world are you living in where that's real?
Well, you're living in one of the most advanced areas in the world. Like, you should have the best technology in the world, and you cannot even have water. Like, it's such a joke.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's a tech thing, you know, and again, it's like you're punishing the end user that has literally the least impact on the environment, and the government is like, the government should be responsible for those things, you know.
Yeah. What do you think we should do, you know, to enter more racing?
Well, I think that I don't know, because it is a challenge, and you know that the fan that I am of the company, right? But you don't want to see a world where, because the product is so good, in 1 year we go from 2 strokes to 4 strokes and 4 strokes to a completely silent stadium with no gas bikes, because again, then there is no competition as such.
Agree.
You know, so I think that there's got to be a way. Well, like, how would you feel about a state? Like, if, let's say that your bikes became so good that every single rider was on a Varg in the 2026 A1.
It'd be boring.
Would you lose? Yeah. Would you lose something from the experience?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it would be the same if you have only Hondas there. It's also boring. Like, come on. No, you want to have competition, of course. Like, that's the whole.
But I think it's even different than like just one brand. Like, let's say everyone's on an electric motorcycle. Like, I think that there's, maybe I'm being too nostalgic, but like the sound of the stadium and the sound of the bikes and the gate drop, like, I think it adds to the whole experience in that moment.
I agree. I don't think it should, like, to just remove the noise overnight is not a good idea. Over time, what could it mean? It can also bring opportunities.
I can definitely see opportunities.
So I can just give an example. We were at the first Super Enduro World Championship this year. I brought my girlfriend, she's not into motorcycles, and she refused. She didn't want to be inside the stadium. Like, after a few minutes, she just, I don't want to be here. There were a little bit the noise. The main thing was the fumes.
Yeah.
Like, there were so much fumes in there. Like, if any kind of environmental government did a measurement there, they would shut it down. Like, it's crazy, the air quality. Like, because they're all riding 2 strokes, you know, in a smaller stadium. Like, it's disturbingly bad air quality. And I think in a Supercross that's not the same issue because it's bigger, it's more open.
It's a little bit though. Like, even I've gone back from these first few races. San Diego, not so much, but like, dude, the Saturday after A1, I like felt sick.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like I've just been sucking on race gas for a bit too long on Saturday.
Right.
And like Phoenix next weekend,
I
know a lot of people that left Phoenix last year with like not poisonings, probably too, but no, there was people that didn't feel well from it.
So, I mean, we want to make this a family sport, right? And it is to a large extent, and that's the goal. But how many moms do you think want to have their kids breeding in that? You know, that very few, I would say. So if you remove a large part of that, it will bring in much more people that would be willing, because it's like the sport is incredible. Like, it's so damn exciting. And like, I'm watching the races with my girlfriend, my mom, and she gets super excited, you know, and she has never been on a motorcycle because it's such a cool sport. But I think, you know, the fumes is a real issue. And I think a lot of people just decide that they don't want to breathe in that much, you know, bad, toxic things, because it is toxic. And in terms of the sound, like, it's hard. Like, we don't know. Like, I wouldn't want to remove the sound. I think reduce would be good. Like, everyone would probably enjoy reducing it. Let's say that, you know, 20% of the bikes was electric. It would elevate the experience, I'm sure, for everyone. Like, because the gas sound lovers, they're still getting the full experience. Everyone gets a little bit less tired. The air quality is going to be 20% better, which is nice. If you remove it completely, it's a big step. No idea. But look at other like downhill, mountain bike, skiing, you have huge crowds. Who brings the biggest crowds in the world? Soccer, football. And what do? I mean, there is no engine noise. They use, of course, the crowds. You hear the crowd all the time, which is super exciting. The crowds are singing many of the times. You have music, you have live music. Like, they make the experience amazing. But I think, like I wouldn't want to remove the sound now, but I think it's necessarily, it doesn't mean like, no, the experience is going to suck. I don't think so. But
yeah, I don't think the experience would suck as a result, but I think you definitely lose something. Like, and I think even, Formula E like it doesn't have the same vibe to it that Formula One does.
Yeah.
But we don't see Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen and, Franco Colapinto and Lando Norris.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see them in those cars.
yeah,
So it's not an apples to apples comparison. Like, to make a real comparison, you would have to go like, okay, here's the race with the sound, and then we're going to take all the same guys in all the same teams with all the same storylines, and then we're going to make them drive these cars, and now does it suck? So I think that we don't really have like a fair comparison, but I think that it just would need to be, and I know you guys are like committed to this, but I think it needs to still be within the ballpark where you can be competitive on a gas-powered motorcycle.
Sure.
And I think if that balance is maintained and like specifically maintained and intentionally maintained, I think that's the way forward. But I think once it becomes that if Eli Tomac was going 3 seconds a lap faster on his Varg or his Yamaha,
that would be boring.
then the switch takes place and we go from the 2-stroke to 4, and it never goes back,
No, but that's definitely not the way to do it. But I think if we look at, for instance, now Arena Cross, like it's great competition. Like, we are there, like we can win and we can lose, and it's like we are not, like we are exactly as competitive as the others.
Yeah,
I would say, like, because with different technology, also you have benefits and you have some, like, we are better in many of the areas, like clearly, like we're really good in the start. We're really good at corners, like through the whoops, we suck. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So we lose a lot of time there now. And that's one of the disadvantages that we have. But for the rest of the track, we're really, really good. So we compensate that quite well. So if you look at Arena Cross today, like, I think we're faster more or less everywhere, but we're slower in the whoops. And there you see the difference quite well. But I think it's important, like, when we are allowed, like we are now in many championships, like, it has to be fair. And it is, I think, in all of them except Super Enduro.
Yeah, because they've actually imposed certain levels of restrictions on you guys.
Yeah.
What would be involved in your mind to get the bike more competitive in the whoops? Is it just testing time, or is there something that would fundamentally have to change with the motorcycle?
I don't really know. I mean, we are testing a lot of things, and is it geometry, is it suspension, is it power delivery? Maybe you need a different technique as a rider, when you do it. I have never ridden whoops in my whole life. So for me
like you guys do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is something that Seb and the race team are figuring out, and they're testing different things, but right now we're not good in whoops. Will we get better? For sure. Will we become as good as a 450? I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah. So what would be, let's say next year they let you guys race AMA, Motocross and Supercross. Like, what does that look like for you guys?
I mean, first of all, we need to know in advance, right? Because if we're going to do that, we need to prepare. So, like, which guys are going to race, which team, how do we start training for that, preparing the bike? Like, you need serious time to get ready for that. I mean, let's see. But, I mean, we have a few guys now that are doing really well on the bike. I think someone that really sticks out is Jorge Zaragoza. That is, like, I don't know if you've seen him on the bike, but he's so damn smooth. And the first Arena Cross in UK, he won against Cedric Suberas, who's, let's say, the best French Supercross rider, Dean Wilson. So I mean, he shows that he has really good speed. And
Why doesn't my Varg have that suspension, Anton?
that is strange. That's
Mine came with very different suspension.
Hmm.
Dude, he does look good.
Oh yeah, he's so smooth. Like it's insane. Like he hits everything so accurate. Like you just see him on the bike and enjoy it. And here, yeah, you see that's not on the oops. Yeah, so Jorge is amazing. I think if he would line up today at Supercross, he would be competitive, I think.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't win, but he would be competitive.
Where's this?
That's
Yeah, I think I would just love to see. God, the track looks so good.
Yeah.
Is that at
that's
your
at-
farm?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they rebuilt it recently.
Yeah, because it looks different. God, the dirt's so good there when it's good, eh?
Yeah,
I think the same thing with your caddy, right? Like, so right now you've got to homologate 400 motorcycles. I would love to see a rule imposed, and again, it's other manufacturers that stop this, but it's like, why can't for 2 years there be 100 motorcycles need to be manufactured to give companies a runway and like an easier pathway? Because I mean, you can obviously speak to this better than I can, but to deliver 400 vehicles through a dealer is quite a challenging undertaking.
I mean in US it's not such a big volume though. Like, but who wouldn't? I mean, I think everyone is like 400 in US is. I mean, even for Ducati, I think they will sell that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you think would happen if it was 100? What would be the difference?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just less of a lift for those guys to, like, could you custom make 100 motorcycles? Like, do you need a production line? Like, to custom make 400 versus 100?
Well, I think what we need to see, though, is a rule change in terms of titanium. And like you know, I'm a little bit of a fan of that material. But if you read the rules today of both AMA and FIM, it doesn't allow you to run titanium frame, swing arm, or shafts, which is ridiculous. Like, there's no reason. And I think these rules were put in place probably in the 80s and have been the same since then. And maybe the production methods then didn't allow you to make something on titanium that was good, or let's say at a reasonable enough cost so that it could elevate the cost for the whole industry. But that's no longer the case. Like, there is a misperception that titanium is dangerous, that it can snap. But it's also like not true. Like, if you design a component incorrectly, it can snap. But it's not more likely that you design it incorrectly in titanium than in steel or aluminium. I think carbon fiber is more likely to snap because that's how the material works. That's still allowed though, which is crazy. So you could, in theory, build a carbon fiber frame, which I think
would be a disaster.
That's a disaster. Like, that should not be allowed. But titanium doesn't make any sense at all. You can have a frame that collapses the same way, and like we have it, same way as a steel frame, so that if it breaks, which is, I would say, at least on our bike, impossible unless you jump off like a very tall building, and like you will not survive that. It bends, so it doesn't snap like it should be, and it's just a misunderstanding, I think, of material properties, and it's a legacy thing, because titanium has, if we compare it to the steel that's used in frames in let's say the best-selling dirt bikes with steel frames today, titanium has double the strength. It has a similar elongation, which is that it stretches before it snaps. It has a little bit it has less stiffness, so it's more flexible. But that you can design around, which is, I think, in general, it's just a geometry question. You know, if it's less stiff, then you need, in general, just a bigger leverage. You know, so these are things. I mean, there are a lot of legacy rules that should change. You know, because our industry needs to allow itself to evolve, and racing, to me, should be the pinnacle,
the tip of the spear,
right? And I think that's a good point with your argument that, you know, let's say maybe the best bikes should use much more titanium because it would become better products, like undoubtedly. Where should it start? I mean, very likely racing, I would say. But if it require that you, like in US, sell 400 per year, perhaps that's too much of a barrier. And if it was 100, then it means, I think it makes sense. People should be able to buy it. I think that is something that makes sense, right? So that a privateer has the chance to buy the same thing and compete. They can't buy everything that's on the factory bikes today either.
Yeah, 100%.
But let's say that you can buy this bike and it's 20,000.
30,000.
Yeah, but they still spend that money on the bike today. Like that's
100%.
right. So I don't think that would be bad at all. So, maybe just if it's 100 per year, like then it's obtainable. People can buy it.
Yeah.
And like limiting titanium is something that we are not allowed anyway, so we don't really care about that rule. But I think that has to change in the future too, to allow, because we want to ride better bikes. We will have more fun. We'll enjoy it more.
And it's part of like a broader philosophical thing. Is like why we do this for fun.
Yeah.
Like this is a hobby. No one needs to race motorcycles. No one needs a motorcycle
For sure.
in general. So it's like, why are we putting all of these rules and this and that? Like they should function.
Yeah.
There should be like a reason, just limitation for limitation's sake. This doesn't really make any sense because it's like, okay, all of this is stupid, like realistically.
Yeah.
But I think that if let's say it's 100, maybe Ducati can CNC machine 100 swing arms, 100 cases, like once you bump that up to 400, and then you have to find customers for those 400, like I just think you could put the sport in a much healthier position where you've got many manufacturers, many more people trying to get into the sport. Ducati coming into the sport brings Lenovo, Shell, like all of these different brands that come with it. You guys have such a different capacity to bring on sponsors than anybody else. You're a tech company that's completely, green, like a energy facing. You know what I mean? Like you're ticking a lot of boxes that a lot of these legacy motorcycle manufacturers aren't ticking, and that is going to be huge in terms of partnerships, visibility. Like there is, if you look on a zoom out and look on a bigger picture, like there's also just all of these other advantages.
Do you want to hear a really cool story?
Yes.
Are you sure? No. So.
No, we're out of time.
Well, okay.
Button it up.
Next year.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, we discussed internally, like, what should our marketing spend be? And normally you think, like, what percentage of revenue do you want to spend in marketing? And I remember, like, my first reply was, zero. Zero would be great.
Yeah.
And then I changed my mind after a few seconds. I should be negative. Should have marketing income. Marketing should not be a cost. Imagine if you could make money on marketing, like you do. That's what you do.
Mm.
So you're marketing yourself and you're making money on that. That's an amazing business, right?
Never actually thought of it like that.
So we thought if we could do that, that would be amazing, because it means we can scale marketing, like, in theory.
Well, your incentive is to scale marketing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, it's not, should we spend, this much more? Can we? No, like, the bigger we build it, the better it is. And that's what's so cool about this kind of business model that you have. So we said, maybe we can have a negative marketing cost. And the idea was, the things we do is so fucking cool and unique. We should be able to bring in sponsors that want to be part of this, to build their brand and their presence, because they want to be associated to us, because, we are changing an industry that has not seen change in 50 years or 40 years or whatever, with new technology. And we're doing it looking quite good. I'm just a bit biased here as well. But and we managed to do it. So we brought in a sponsor that paid more than our entire marketing budget. And we signed a contract, like, done deal. And then then Travis Pastrana tries our bike, and he loved it. Like there's a review video that has over 1 million views on YouTube, and like I'm a huge fan of Travis Pastrana. I think he's the coolest guy in the world. You know, like when I was a kid, you know, Travis Pastrana videos was the number one thing that I was watching. You know, and so I was so proud when I saw that video. But he said something in the video which is like, shit, this is an amazing bike or something like that. And he said shit. So our sponsor has a team, or had a team at least, monitoring all their partners and everything that happens. And we reposted his stories when he said something like, shit, the bike is great, something like that. And their alarms goes off. Like bling, 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 bling. They are swearing. So they call us up, so like, hey, what's going on? You just reposted a video of someone swearing about your bike. And we were like, yeah.
It's Travis Pastrana.
Yeah, it's Travis Pastrana.
He can say whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't allow any swearing associated with their business. Extremely strict.
So that's why I never heard from him.
So they said, yeah, we need to know that this is not going to happen again. And I mean, we discussed like, no, we are never going to tell Travis Pastrana or anyone else that they cannot say shit. So we had to call them back and said, I'm sorry, we have to terminate the contract. So we terminated the contract.
Who was it? Can you say?
No, we have confidentiality agreements. It was.
I think I did know. I think I knew who it was, or I think I knew that it was about to happen, and then so this is obviously context as to why it never happened.
Yeah. So let's say that it's backed by some of the richest people in the world.
Okay.
So now we have a marketing cost.
No way. That's crazy. But I mean, it's going to change. Like as soon as you guys come into sports and like, or you get onto the level of the AMA, Motocross and Supercross, like you guys are going to get some crazy sponsors.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because of just the nature of the company and the product, you know?
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Yeah. No, it was
I'm glad you said that.
That was fun. I'm glad he said that. I'm glad Travis said shit. I'm so glad that he did a video. So.
Pull up the video. It does have over 1 million views, eh? I remember when it came out.
Yeah.
Have you guys spoke to the World Supercross guys at all?
Yeah.
Surely that'd let you in.
So, I mean, World Supercross, I think.
Stark 80 horsepower electric.
Go down.
Let me start off by saying I just love to ride. This thing's got 80 horsepower that I hit to pull the clutch in, or I actually almost took out our camera guy 6. Hi 6. How do I get? Whoa! Oh Jesus Christ! It's on. You okay?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure. It was a check.
I remember the first time.
I've never in my life almost ended out and almost looped out on the same jump. You give it gas, it's like a snowmobile. It just
so crazy, dude, to just get this organic marketing from one of the most prominent figures in two wheels.
Yeah, I mean, I feel so damn proud when I see this. Like, it's goosebumps, honestly.
Put my 10-year-old Addy on that.
So cool.
I mean, if you took the power down a little bit.
Yeah, I remember seeing this and just being like, dude, this is unreal.
Bad knees like myself and bad back
and he just says all the things. Like it's true.
Yeah, and like no bullshit. He says exactly like it is. You know, and that was cool. So yeah, you know, things happen, and that's like the roller coasters we talk about, the high and the lows. You know, like, you know, first it's super high that we managed to sign this huge sponsor, and then another super high that we get this amazing review. And then it's super low that we lose the sponsor, like just after we started.
But I think that the those times where like you turn down millions of dollars, or you know, some of those deals. I mean, I feel like even just from personal experience, like sometimes the no's are even better than the yeses. Like sometimes it just feels even better to say no to a thing because it just like really solidifies your values and like solidifies a certain culture within like the company as well.
You have to stay true, and what is the true you worth, and that's perhaps the problem with sponsors. If they, with racers, it's a shame when you see some racers that they come up to the podium and their speech is so damn boring because they're not maybe allowed. Someone have told them exactly what to say, and then what they say has no value anymore. And that's what's so amazing with Danger Boy. Like, he doesn't give a fuck. He just does exactly what he wants. And that makes him so much more interesting, which is better for his sponsors. So, I think putting ceilings on people and companies in general is not a good thing.
Yeah. It's something that I've always tried to do, right? Like, we get paid by Yamaha. They're one of our biggest supporters of this podcast.
Yeah.
And for that, I try and give them as much value as I can. But I'm so thankful that by working with them, like, I have a 350 in the garage. I don't get paid anything by KTM, but I've talked about how great that bike is. That's genuinely what I believe.
Yeah.
And I can still ride a 350 when I want to. And it's the same with the Varg. You guys have never paid me $1, but I genuinely love that product. And I would then hope that it translates, like, say Yamaha's like, just you do your thing. Like, whatever you ride, you ride. And I think that if people see me at a track on a YZ450, I want to be there riding that motorcycle. And if they see me riding this or that, you know what I mean? So there's a level of genuine endorsement. And I just think that hopefully when I do talk about certain bikes or brands or whatever, people can like actually believe it because of the greater picture. It's not just like you do a Yamaha thing and then that's the only bike you ever ride. Yamahas are the best thing in the world. Like, it's very disingenuous, even though you do believe it's a good product and it is a good product. It's just way less believable when it's packaged in a certain way.
Yeah, for sure. And you, like, when it's bought, like, you can always feel it. And it just destroys the whole thing, like, that's why it's nice with a partnership where, of course, you should make money. Like, you're creating value for Yamaha for sure, but it's great that they allow you to be genuine, because if they didn't, they would diminish your value.
Yeah. Yeah, and it diminishes the whole project, And I think it's the same thing that you're talking about with riders and podiums, and I mean they're obviously in a bit of a different position. Like, they're not really getting to pick and choose, but there is a certain value of like that real genuine kind of endorsement. I think when you give people the freedom to be themselves, like, that's when it does shine through,
Yeah.
So the World Supercross thing, have you had conversations about entering that? Is it something you would enter as like a bit of a pathway into AMA Supercross and Motocross?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are open to race everything. Like, we want to show that we are competitive. And I think World Supercross, it has been a lot of back and forth. They have done a lot of things great. They've had some issues. I think now, hopefully, the new management will be able to turn it around. They seems like really, really great guys. So we've had conversations with them, and I think for the season now, we both felt that it was a little bit close to it. Like, they still need to figure out exactly, how to allow us in. I think they are open to electric, and I hope that we can find a way to work together. We would like to race there, if we are allowed to race together with the gas bikes, of course. And I think similar to, how the rules works in Supercross in France and UK and Australia. Well, no, Australia we're not allowed to yet. All the classes except Supercross, though. Which is
Dogs.
Good. Yeah. No, they recently changed rules, so we can race everything in Australia except Supercross.
We need to change that.
Yeah. No, but we're step by step. We're gonna get there. I'm sure they're gonna allow us soon. I hope so.
And so the other thing as well that I think it really opens up, right? So for me, I'm the same person that says, I don't know if I want to go to a silent Supercross A1, but I'm also the kind of person that would love to go downtown LA, New York, Times Square, Supercross takeover. Like, that to me, I think is something very special that only the Stark is able to do. Like, you're not going to be able to put a YZ450 in Times Square
Yeah.
at a Supercross race, man-made, like, kind of special event. Like, is that something, like, have you guys thought about that, or like these exhibitions or races that you can hold in that way?
Yeah, and I mean, there has been some people reaching out to us about stuff like that, and for sure we want to do it. But I think the only problem today is that, you know, we have no one to compete with. So it would become a little bit boring if we have a race, I mean, downtown New York or wherever, and, you know, we're just having our team racing against each other. It gets a little bit boring. Like, I think in a few years when we have electric competitors, that will be amazing. But yeah, if you see an all Yamaha race, is that as fun? Like, maybe not.
Yeah. Who are the closest competitors right now, and where do you see your competitors coming from?
So I mean, Honda has a prototype bike.
Yeah. What did you think of that? Did you follow those races?
Yeah, I did in the
Japanese championship.
They did, yeah, with Trey Canard, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He had a lot of issues with the lanyard. So they had a lanyard on the bike, which
Like jet ski style killed the motor. What I would have needed at Glen Helen.
yeah, but it's fucking dangerous, man.
Yeah, just as dangerous, right?
Yeah. So I mean, that was an issue for him. But I think the bike is working well. Of course, Honda knows how to build bikes. The issue with that bike, I think, is that I don't know the battery capacity, but I would guess that it's a lot less than ours.
What would make you say that?
I mean, I've just seen pictures of the battery. So I just don't see that I can fit that many cells in there. And it's kind of a rebuilt gas bike. You know,
Can you pull up a picture of it?
So the chassis looks very similar. So I think if you really want to build a good electric bike, it has to be
Ground up.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're saying that they're gonna bring that into production. We're hearing that from, you know, different areas of the market, and I think that's gonna be a good thing. Will it be exactly that?
Go to that one there.
So I think the black thing you see there, the kind of square box, is the battery, as far as I.
Yeah, right. That's a tiny battery in comparison.
Right. So I would assume that's maybe half our capacity.
Yeah.
That's not going to be good enough for a commercial product.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure they can race a 15, maybe even 20-minute race with that. But yes, so I don't know. Maybe they will change that for the production bike. Maybe there is a completely different production bike that no one has seen. That could be.
Yeah.
So I mean, but there was something that will come in the next couple of years, I think, and then Yamaha is developing something.
Have you seen any pictures of it?
They have posted some patents. I think they're planning a clutch, which is kind of like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah.
A bit like the Germans, you know, like still having a gearbox.
Yeah.
So
Kill your babies.
There are, of course, I think the reason KTM came out with a free right now is it's us. That's pretty clear. Unfortunately, the bike is not good enough. I think, you know, it's
just not the same thing.
No, it's like a 85cc. You know, at the same price, with half the power and, you know, almost half the range. Not really half, but let's say 30% less or something. So that's, I think, not going to be competitive enough. But I think in 5 years we're going to have, you know, 2-3 more bikes for sure.
Are you surprised that there's not competitors already?
Not really.
It's just, they're too slow to move, right?
Yeah, too slow to move. I think maybe 26 there's going to be one, I would say. And 27 for sure there will be something.
What's the competitive advantage you have by being first to market? Like, that has to be just like a huge advantage.
I mean, I think there are many things with that, right? So one thing is that when people think about an electric dirt bike today, I think you think Stark.
GoPro.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You Google something.
Yeah.
So that's a huge advantage. And then I think, of course, the learnings that we're doing. So, you know, we've been doing learnings now for 5 years, which means that, I mean, we're not stopping developments. We're continuously making the bike better.
And knowledge compounds over time.
Exactly, right. So I think it allows us to build better bikes. So that should be a huge advantage, I think. And I think not perhaps being first, but we're also focused on electric. Like, I mean, I've spoken to so many people in the industry that they are still not sure if the future is electric. They do it, but they're not sure. And if you don't fully commit, like, you're not going to be the best at it. Like, you have to go in full speed into it. So I think that's that. But I think we launched a bike, force the others to do it, which I think is great. It's going to be great for them also. But then we are going to maintain to be number one.
And I think that history kind of shows that that's what happens.
Normally.
Unless you guys fumble the bag.
Yeah. So let's not fumble the bag.
Speaking of fumbling the bag, what do you make of the KTM thing? We've been talking about it behind the scenes for a very long time.
It's interesting. It's something with dictators. If you look at dictators over the years, many of them were good in the beginning. But after a while,
this is such an Anton response.
After a while, when people are afraid to tell them when they're wrong, and they just hear that they're right all the time, they start to lose it. And I think it's a similar situation with KTM. I don't know Stefan Peter. I met him one time, so I cannot say that I know how he works. But I've met a lot of people that has worked with him and, let's say, the top management of KTM. And what I've heard is that it has changed a lot over the last few years, and that in the last few years, you couldn't call them with bad news. And I heard from so many people that after COVID, everyone understood the market is going to go down now. So forecasting for country managers, for local sales reps, they tried to reduce the forecasts because they understood it.
It's a bubble.
But they weren't allowed to. No, KTM, HQ, no, we're going to continue growing. We're going to grow another 20%. No, you can't do that. It was a bubble, man. People weren't working. They got free money. That's why they bought more bikes. That wasn't
That
you.
can't be why.
It wasn't you,
That can't be why.
Exactly, right? So it's going to go back, but they didn't listen to that. So they kept on scaling production, make more bikes. And then I think to some extent, maybe they also fucked up a little bit the development of the bike. I think the design, like, I'm not sure what happened with the purple. Like, who wants an orange, white, and purple bike? What the fuck, man? Come on. Like, who approved that? But then also just producing more and more bikes. And why didn't they see that those bikes were not selling? I mean, surely they must be monitoring sell-through from their dealers, right? They must be. I mean, we see that live. We know exactly how many bikes our dealers sell every single day. But they kept on producing. So, I mean, in the end, why are they going bankrupt? Well, they built up 2 years worth of stock between themselves and their dealers. In the end, they offered some dealers 1.5 year of credit term. Just take more bikes. You can pay in 1.5 year. Like, how can you not realize that's a really, really bad idea? Like, this is not good. At what point do you realize that you have to pull the handbrake? Well, I mean, way too late. And all the signs were there. I think everyone, even from the outside, could see the signs.
Yeah. We had a conversation about it. Like, I don't even know how, over a year ago.
Yeah.
And like all the financials are public.
Yeah.
So it's like you can even do self-auditing.
Yeah. So I think they got a bit high on themselves. They did so good during COVID, and they felt probably that let's keep on rocking, man. But they didn't keep their ears to the rail. And the reason that they are, I mean, maybe not, in risk of going bankrupt, let's see what happens, is that they built up too much stock. If they wouldn't have done that, would have been fine, And then they invested so heavily in stuff that you can, argue, like, does it make sense to spend that much money on MotoGP? Is that really building so much sales for you?
Or is it make sense to build a $70 million office in Temecula, California?
Sure. And I think they spent even more in Austria on what they built there. And did you have to buy MV Agusta? Like, was that really necessary too? You know, so it's so easy to sit at the sideline and tell what someone is doing wrong. And, you know, and you can easily do that for sure to Stark and to me as well and say, this guy is a fucking idiot. Because there are a million things that I could do better too, but I think they really fucked up not pulling the handbrake on production earlier. You know, when you have to offer your dealers 1 year credit to buy more bikes, like how can you not realize this is not a healthy situation? And then I know I've heard that in some cases even going to 1.5 year, like a normal business, you give someone 30 days credit.
Yeah, 3 months max.
Yeah, sure. And I think in general, the motocross industry, they're not the only ones giving ridiculous long credit lines, which is dangerous. Like, it's dangerous for everyone. Like, dealers have such a huge debt to their suppliers. Like, you know, their suppliers could kill them. It's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a good model to operate off of.
Right? Why do you have more than 2 months worth of stock of dirt bikes? You know, why do you have to have 50 of the same 450 in stock? What's the reason? You know, like, you're not going to sell 50 in a day. That's not going to happen. So I think it's just an unhealthy situation. And it's hard to say why they ended up there, but it's clear to see what happened. And that's for sure now the reason as well that he's getting fired. Let's see what happens, who saves them, and at which terms. I'm sure it's going to be pretty damn brutal.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing that I was thinking is like they'll probably get saved.
Yeah.
But the terms of getting saved is going to be pretty rough.
Yeah.
Like, they're not keeping 51% of that company, I would imagine, you know.
Yeah, for sure not.
Which is sad. And I wonder too, like, because companies have a culture, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if, like, KTM was just, when I was a kid, it was like, kick the mother, keep taking money. Like, it was just there was such a connotation around that brand, and they've come from nowhere.
Yeah.
Nothing. They were the bottom of the bottom, and the Japanese manufacturers were just superior in every single way until they weren't. And they grinded and grinded to get to the point of being at the pinnacle of the industry. And it's like hubris killed that company. And it seems like culturally there was a cultural sense of ego that also killed that company.
But it also went bankrupt 3 times in 21 years, you know? So, like, why didn't you learn first or second time? And I don't know about the first and second time. I don't have no idea what happened then. But, like, it's also not normal to go bankrupt every seventh year.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, I'm asking this because I look at people that do a similar job to me, and I'm like, one of my little guilty pleasures is like the downfall of this guy and the downfall of this guy, and I'm just like, fuck, I can see myself in that guy. Like, I can see how he made that, you know, like, I can see why. And it's like, I think that, yeah, as someone in your position, there's probably a lot to learn from just seeing the way that it transpired.
Sure. And I mean, we have also made a lot of mistakes. Hey, I need a quick break.
Do you need to go to the bathroom?
Yes.
Done. Do it. Yeah, well, almost. We're getting close, so.
Okay. Well, 2 minutes.
All right, mate. So we're getting close to wrapping this up.
Yeah.
When's our next adventure?
That's the big question.
I know.
I'm ready.
We need to do something.
For sure. Yeah.
What's on your mind? Are you still doing Africa?
Well, I don't think it's going to happen, it seems. So, I mean, my friend who's going to arrange it has, I think he's too busy with a few other things. I don't think he will do it. But I would like to do something like that.
Are you in? Has Vietnam, Cambodia, Southeast Asia ever? Oh, let me actually need to. I'll change this camera over real quick. Yeah, Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Vietnam. Has that ever interested you?
Sounds amazing. I'm in.
So I got a friend, a very good friend actually. Can you pull up Vietnam motorbike tours? So especially now that there's a enduro version.
Yeah.
Maybe do we just like ride a Varg across like the Ho Chi Minh Trail or something like that? Have you ever been to Vietnam?
I don't even know what it is, but I'm in. Let's do it.
It's
just tell me when and how many bikes. I'll send the bikes there and we do it.
like, look at this, dude. You know, like the Ho Chi Minh Trail
Wow.
through the Vietnamese War.
But it's not going to be a road, right?
It can be whatever you want it to be.
No, it needs to be miserably difficult.
Yeah. So Vietnam motorbike tours is a little bit more mellow and a lot of road. So go to Cambodia motorbike tours. So this would be us riding through Cambodia and Laos. And it's like there's a lot of water crossings, a lot of rivers, a lot of mud, a lot of like it's way more extreme enduro type of shit.
You know how to sell it.
This is me and you right there. But like,
Amazing.
dude, you go through, I mean, it's crazy. You go through like, that's us, right?
But we're not going to do the boat. We'll just ride through the river, right?
I'd be quite interested to do that.
Yeah. No, let's do it. I mean,
So I'm thinking we need to go when it's kind of wet.
okay.
Wet
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
wet
of course.
seasons.
Can't be easy.
And I'm thinking like June, July.
Yeah.
Around that.
July, it would be great.
Does July work for you?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about going around then.
No. I mean, if you just tell me which dates, how many bikes we need.
How long do we need to get bikes there?
I mean, it's the earlier we can ship them, the better. I think the shortest amount of time is.
Let's not air freight. We've got more time than air freight.
It's better if we can ship 3 months in advance because we just don't know with import and stuff to see if there could be an issue. And I don't know if we have a dealer in Vietnam, but if not, we could set someone up so we have a place to ship them to, and they could sell the bikes after we have done the adventure and so on. So
yeah, Thatcher the guy that runs all these tours, he's an Aussie guy.
Okay.
Yeah, so we could fully do it. But
No, I
I
mean-
think that's one of my.
If we could book it in February or March, then it's perfect.
Okay.
mean,
I think that it's.
We need to do it
I know. We both need a little bit of an adventure.
for
I
sure.
reckon.
But how long do you think it will be?
It doesn't have to be long.
Yeah,
I mean, a week, 2 weeks.
I think a week would be good.
Yeah.
2 weeks is kind of hard to be away that long.
I think a week. We could get the ride done in a week easily.
Yeah, cool.
But we could ride the whole whole country.
So how does it work? Will we stop somewhere with Wi-Fi in the evenings and stuff?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
right, just so you can catch up a little bit and
Yeah.
keep things rolling?
Yeah.
Cool.
Easily. Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
like there's like nice hotels and shit
Yeah.
as well. Just depends on where we go.
That's it.
So then that's what we'll do.
It's settled.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
Who are we bringing?
Whoever.
We're bringing Daniel Peterson for sure.
Yes.
He's in.
Yes.
Are you bringing your brother?
I reckon Maddie would do it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a few boys that would do it. How many spots are we gonna align for this?
No, I mean, like it should be. I think probably 4 to 6 is a good number because if it's too many, it can be that we have to stop and wait too much. I think the level of the riders needs to be at least somewhat similar. Probably.
All of us would be. Yeah, we'd all be good. Daniel's a good rider.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
So all he does is ride now.
I know. I need to hook him and Troy up.
Yeah, for sure.
I still haven't done that
Yeah.
text, but I need to do that.
Yeah.
I think those two would get along quite well.
I think so too. Yeah, I haven't met Troy, have I? No. But he seems like a really great guy. I listened to him on a podcast.
Such a good dude.
Yeah.
Like just a cool OG dude.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah. No. Let's do it.
Well, yeah. All right. That right there.
That looks so good.
Just that. Except we'd be able to ride around it.
For sure.
But yeah, my dad's done this twice. The ride
really? Wow.
in Cambodia. He actually just did it recently. But yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
Such a cool part of the world, man.
Yeah.
And there's actually there's a charity element too. So
Okay.
if you go to Global Village Housing, so we'll actually build a couple of houses while we're there for some
great.
families. So Jason Thatcher, he does it's called Global Village Housing, and he builds these. Go to all. I wonder what the charity name is. Can't type in Cambodia. So there's a bunch of these families that just live in like extreme poverty, and they basically live on like rubbish dumps and stuff. And yeah, there you go. So we'll build one of these houses.
Yeah,
So it's all just like prefab. He just employs all of these people in Cambodia to like prefab these homes, and I think it costs like $5,000.
Okay.
And I've wanted to raise like money through the podcast to build one or two or however many we could get.
That would be nice.
So we'll do this. We'll build a couple houses, and
That's a really good idea.
have a sick ride.
Nice.
Build the Stark house.
I can't wait.
Well,
Do
mate,
it.
this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the time.
Thank you.
Always fun. Third time's a charm.
For sure.
And how long you staying for? When do you go back?
So we fly to or drive
Vegas
on Sunday, and then we go back Thursday.
Okay. You'd say you're not back here at all after this?
No plan, but let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Sweet. And then I am keen to come to Barcelona.
Yeah, tell me when.
I know, I need to come. It's the spot, eh?
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
such a good place.
Yeah.
So, moto, mountain bike, the beach, the whole
Perfect.
thing.
Guest house is waiting for you.
Love it. Well, thanks very much, Anton Wass. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.